Well, I guess these can go into the bin. Got the old legacy models, Great Beast of Gorgoroth. Yeah. Oh, yep. Ah, yes. Burn them just like the those crazy people on the internet want us to do. The legacy models, and that's what we're talking about this evening. They're all going straight in the bin. All right then. Welcome along to Entmoot Live. Alex Battlecamper Temple. Greetings.
Hello.
Was that an entertaining skit?
I was going to say, you warned me the skit was coming, but it was worse than I'd imagined, frankly. It was awful.
I mean, I didn't really put a lot of effort in, but, I thought, I did.
Maybe you should have.
Yeah, I probably should. I did toy briefly with, like, somehow faking up a thing where I put them on the barbecue, and then I light the match and throw it on, and then somehow cut between that and some empty cardboard boxes burning.
Yeah, but you're a father now. You don't have time for this nonsense.
I really
You've got better things to do with your time.
I absolutely do. But welcome along, Alex, and welcome along, people in the chat. I can see there's plenty of people having a good comment already. I think, unless I'm right and wrong in thinking this, I think this is the first live stream I've seen reacting to the big announcements this week, and I guess it's probably stupid to suggest that people don't even have a clue what's going on here. I mean, everyone watching here has a really strong idea and probably a strong opinion, right?
Yeah, I'm sure they all do.
Yeah, but we're here to talk about it and delve into it. I guess originally we were planning on doing it on Tuesday, which was the day that it was all released. And my baby had to go into hospital briefly. It was nothing to worry about, but it was just a mild panic briefly, which pushed things back a couple of days.
Gave me a bit of scare. I sent you a heart emoji. I don't do that for
No, it was very sweet of you, Alex.
Nothing.
You showed actual human emotions, and I know how hard it is to pretend to do that. So.
What an odyssey.
Exactly. So yeah, that was Tuesday. But obviously, other than my baby going to A&E, there was truly heartbreaking news, real, genuinely frightening, scary news about the Legacy miniatures being announced. And before we go into this and read all the comments and all this sort of stuff, I just kind of intrigued. What was your initial reaction on Tuesday when you read the list and the announcement that we got?
It's a big list. That was my initial reaction. It's a big list.
Mm-hmm.
And I was surprised. What I didn't expect is some entire armies to go to Legacy. So Dunland and Canned. I think I did it. Lots of people have predicted, I'm not claiming any credit for this. Lots of people predicted that Canned might be on the chopping block. Dunland really surprised me.
Oh yeah, man. I totally agree. Dunland was the really, really shocking one for me. But yeah, go on. Sorry, go on.
No, I mean, that's it. I mean, there's some really beautiful Dunland armies out there. It seems to be one of the painters' armies because it can be so bright, and they've got big blank shields where people can paint some lovely quadrants and things like that. And there's some really nice, vibrant color schemes. And it's also an army that has a real special place. Canned. I know there's some real Canned fans, but you never really see them. I've never actually played against Canned. I know you brought.
I was going to say I have a large Canned army.
Yeah. So it was a surprise. I think,
but I'm fine about it. It's fine.
If only A&E could have done anything about that.
I know, right?
What about you?
I think like everyone, I was sort of taken aback by the scale. As much as I joke, I was expecting. I thought Canned had a bad chance of survivals. I thought Mahud. I thought Mahud were unlikely to stick around as well. I think it's all the other stuff. I mean, we'll get into it in a bit more detail. We're planning a list, like a top 5 type thing, in a bit. But generally, just I think just the scale of it, like you said, the number and a lot of the stuff. I think the thing that shocked me most was the number of things from the books, which have been culled, and that was genuinely concerning and weird. I was so surprised by that, and we will get into them in a minute. But yeah, I was pretty surprised by those.
Just a final point on scale. I mean, I saw someone on GBHL Facebook page describe it as 25%. Well, they said only 25%. And I was like, 25%? That's
the entire range. Is that what it was?
I've not independently verified it.
Well, let's just assume that it's correct. It's on the internet after all.
Well, of course, you've got a Facebook as well. The pinnacle of factual rigor. But whether it's 25% or not, it's a long list. I wonder how many years you'd have to go back to have the number of releases equate to the number of models now lost in the range. I wonder how old the range has to get. So if you plotted this on a chart, the peak is presumably right now, or just before the models go to Legacy. Yeah. At what year are we going to, what year's equivalent are we going to land when
that's a really interesting fact. I'd imagine it's somewhere around the Hobbit release period, if not maybe just before the Hobbit release period, because there's not a massive Hobbit range. Well, maybe during the Hobbit release period, maybe. I don't know. Either way, it's certainly 10 years. I would have thought, because we've been a sort of slow release schedule of the odd hero recently. But maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. It feels like that long anyway.
Because I think that's an interesting point. Sorry, I know you've got your agenda to get onto.
It's fine. I have no agenda.
There's two agenda. Yeah, there's two points that I think would be interesting to discuss with your consent. The first is because there's a lot of comparison, right? And one of the really, really big questions is what Legacy actually means. Right?
Yeah, we'll definitely go to that.
How playable is Legacy going to be? I know we're going to talk about that. But the other one is comparing it to culls in other ranges. Sigmar had quite a brutal one because Sigmar in a way was worse because a lot of what they culled from that range was really recent. It's only had 4 editions, and I think it was basically all the Stormcaster tunnels from the 2nd edition were all culled. So that's a bit brutal. But the difference, I guess, with those games
is that nobody likes them. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Well, no one sensible likes them. Is that they are inevitably getting a huge amount of releases. The anxiety in our community is that we don't have the guarantee that the range is going to continue to grow beyond the point that that the models were lost. Whereas in in theirs, they're like, well, we've lost some Stormcast, we've lost some whatever. In 40k, X, Y, and Z, a lot of Eldar stuff went from Forge Worlds, but I know there's going to be new stuff because there always is for those games.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that the big thing for me is, as I mentioned already, the stuff we've lost isn't just, some GW invention, which I was kind of expecting. It's stuff from the books, which we'll get onto. As I said, I'll look into the chat in a second, but we're going to, throughout the course of the next hour or two, I don't know how long, I haven't planned a length, but we're definitely going to talk about the biggest surprises, most disappointing losses from the Legacy. We'll also talk about some odd ones, as I mentioned, emissions as well, and how gaming is going to work with them, whether they're going to be sort of completely playable in the way that we currently have now. War gear as well, we'll have to touch on that, and then potential like the actual future. I mean, this chat is this video is called what next, and I think there is potential. I'm certainly intrigued to see how people think that the range might be added to in the future with the stuff that we've lost being so recent in some ways. So we'll get into that. I'll just drop in the chat for a second, just say hello to folks. Sean Clark's in, iWing's in, Frederick Schultz in there, Darren Warner's in there. Good evening. Masterball UK's there. Sean Clark's ploughing through overtime when I'd rather be painting. Hopefully this makes it quick. Glyn Seymour's in. Dave McShirra says don't play with matches. Rageburn clickbait from the very start. Lol. Yeah, I've got to do it. You got to do it. Oh wow, a cattle bumper. Why is he here? Indeed. David is naked, hopefully in the bath. Frederick Schultz is talking about doggers on the internet. Why? What's happened? Very good. Frederick, that must have been the family emergency was a false alarm, as I mentioned. Yes, it was. Yes. Tanya is in. Welcome along. Darren Warner says, halfway through painting my far-out army. I feel like crying. Oh, bless you. Julian Hammond's in. Evening, chaps. Evening from Scott Johnson as well. Feel like I'm the only chilled one in the community. Yeah. I think you'll find over the course of this evening, we might have a more nuanced approach than the burning of the miniatures. But we'll see. Dave McShirra says, not surprised by Dunland at all. They'll get a full redesign for the new film. Fingers crossed. No, cast it into the fires. Heart and Soul, also cheeky plug. John isn't in. I feel like maybe that was an oversight on my behalf, actually. Apologies, John.
Well, it depends if you do want nuance or whether you
to be fair, if he just started shouting, why isn't the Dragon Emperor in the bin?
I mean, that is what I want. That's why I'm friends with him, because he has one gear at all times. And, you know what? I
think it's because we have a little chat group for the three of us, don't we? I put it in the wrong one. I probably put it in the wrong one. I think
so
I did.
By accident, basically.
That's the excuse. We'll stick to that. Julian, we keep the wild man. I'll not missing playing against camels as often. Yeah, fair enough. Farm to tabletops in. I don't think it's 25%. Maybe not. If you have time, farm to tabletop. Could you have a look? Oh gosh, it's just a lot of people just commenting suddenly. iWing is in. I've never had any love for the Farharad army, but I will not be sad to see it go. But my heart weeps for those who love it and have put work into it. Yeah, fair enough. Morgul Knight survived the Great Cull. Houstonian greetings, says Destro the Dexterous. Julian, back in, most of the stuff that's going are things that when released I was not keen on. Yeah, fair enough. Be joining circa 8 p.m, says Michael. Thanks for dropping in. Grimdog Future says, I think I'll react to this before I properly understand what's going on. I think we're all there. John Croson's in. Jamie Ayalano. Hope GW release a new army building plan as it might contextualize some of the changes. We need more information. Also pretty chilled about the changes so far. Fair enough. They took my Reavers, and that is sad. I knew it would be so because of the tiny insignificant detail like them not having a model, but why would it matter? One of the models I'm surprised it's not in the Cull so far is Gully. Yeah, so all of these things, you're on the... Everyone is already kind of on the wavelength of the sort of things that we're going to be chatting about. So hopefully you can add some extra context and nuance to the sort of vague topics that we're going to be tackling through the course of the evening. But Alex, I mean, so I guess we could look at the list, but it's really long and boring to just go through the list of stuff that has been lost. If you want to,
I'm sure everyone in here has already read it today.
I was going to say everyone has read it or has probably seen other people reading it on the internet, which is what a lot of people have done so far on the YouTubes and stuff. So there's plenty of people reacting to the list. And so I guess for us, I think this was the first thing we said we'd do, was talk about some of the biggest surprises. I mean, should we do it as a top 5? You know, our 5 biggest surprises from the Cull, the legacy thing. I guess we can talk about the nuance of what a legacy actually means in a bit, but we got to get on to some of the good stuff, right? So let's get with the extreme reactions initially. So things are going to be removed from sale by Games Workshop. That's what being a legacy model means, and they're going to provide a PDF for some rules, and the assumption is that once that PDF's there, it's never going to be updated again. So then they announced this big long list, which we're not going to read. Alex, what is your first biggest surprise off said list? And do you think it'll tally with my stuff? And why?
Well, so are we talking surprise here? Or are we talking the things we were most disappointed about?
Okay, we'll do surprises first, and we can do some disappointments in a bit.
Okay.
Or have you mashed them together?
No, that's fine. We can do surprises first.
Yeah, let's do surprises.
So I think surprises were, as we talked about, the ones that don't fall into any of the categories that they describe at the head of the page. And they say it's about resolving issues with the models that they sell and you know, kind of condensing the time period. And yet we lose, you know, things like, as you and I talked about earlier, Thranduil on horse. I'm not really sure why that's got to go, or why and not Legends is. It's just he's just gone, and he no longer has a horse. He doesn't seem to fit into any of the above mentioned reasons why a model might go.
Yeah, and it's a strange one, isn't it? Because Thranduil on horse is it's a quirk of the way the movies were made, isn't it? Because originally there was no elk in the movies. So when Games Workshop got the sort of the previews of the Hobbit movies, they saw a horse. They saw Thranduil on a horse. And they made a model out of that. And then later on, Peter Jackson decided a horse isn't cool enough. I'm going to CGI an elk over the top of.
Is that what happened? That's
what happened. Yeah. And
is he on an elk or a horse? Because he's briefly mounted in the first movie when he's watching what's happening, watching Smaug attack Erebor.
He's an elk.
He's an elk of that. So he's never actually on a horse. In the movie.
He's never. So I can understand why they removed it.
That makes a lot of sense then. Yeah,
it's still a weird target for this sort of stuff, isn't it? But yeah, I guess if now you understand the context, I guess it's less surprising, I'd imagine. But still, it's a weird one, isn't it? Was that your first choice?
So maybe I'll switch my first choice then to
okay. Go ahead.
Elrond unarmored. I really, because there's a lot of unarmored
absolutely
models.
Do see Elrond unarmored in movies.
Yeah, almost. It's not exclusively, but almost exclusively.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of unarmored models who also wear armor at some point in the game.
Yeah.
And it's presumably his profile will simply have armor in the profile rather than you having to pay the points for the armor.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
I really don't understand why you have taken that option away from people. They, you know, for the same reason you might want to play other unarmored models, because it's a very narrative game. And they talk in the first article about this new edition about how narratively focused it is. There are going to be narrative missions where you want to have an unarmored Elrond. So I just can't see what the logic there was.
Yeah, it's an unusual one. I mean, part of me thinks there is a miniature for it. So there's an unarmored miniature, or was. I think it was probably a Hobbit era one. It was a fine cast mini, not a particularly detailed or frankly very good miniature. Although some people may disagree with me because I've only seen some paint jobs of it. But maybe it's just simply we're going to get rid of that model because we don't want to sell it anymore, and therefore we're removing the option for unarmored because otherwise there's no profile for that miniature. But yeah, it does feel an odd one because we do see an awful lot of Elrond without armor in the Lord of the Rings films in particular, but also the Hobbit films, I guess, because that's kind of how he spends much of his time being wise. But yeah,
with the greatest respect to this community, and you know my views on this, if we were talking about getting rid of ugly models, if one of the criteria is getting rid of ugly models, we'd have barely anything left. It'd be a very empty range indeed.
Dave McShura says, has anyone ever seen it or sat on the table? That's a very fair question. I mean, it's probably unlikely.
But that's not the point, is it?
Yeah.
I think
I can understand you removing the profile, but it's the getting rid of the miniature as well, I guess. But
I take the other way around for that. They had a model for it. What's the harm in having Elrond and then having to add the armor in with 5 for 5 points? Why make it so that he comes with armor by default? If they never had an armored Elrond model, fine. But that's why it's surprising. I'm not talking about what's disappointing. I don't really care. I'm never going to buy unarmored Elrond. I'm never going to play unarmored Elrond. But we're talking about the ones that are most surprising, and I just don't understand why you'd be like, right, I'm not only are we never going to put that back in made to order, which how can you know that? I don't know how they decide what goes in made to order, but he could have been back in a made to order. But we're also going to say that if you've got him, you can no longer even use your unarmored Elrond, even in
exactly. That's kind of weird, isn't it? And I think mine are similar sort of vibes. I think the first of my big surprises was I've already kind of hinted at it, but it's most of the named things. Sorry, I got this real burp there. It's like the named characters from the movies, and from the books particularly, which have been culled, which include things like Gildor.
Gildor is
I mean, it's one of those weird. I know this. It sounds silly. I've used Gildor in games. I know Tim, who is a good friend of mine, a local lad, loves playing with Tim. I don't know why it's coming. Oh, it's because I'm sharing screen over the top. And Gildor is a weird one to me because he's in the books. There's a specific thing that he does in the books, like he helps in the journey from from the Shire into Rivendell and all that sort of stuff. There's an actual thing. He had a cool profile. It's not a game-winning profile, but
it was a good one. I took him to Scouring.
Yes,
with a full warband of Noldorian exiles.
Exactly, it brought that the fast-moving Noldorian exiles, which is a great nice nuance. Yeah,
it was great fun, and he's a gorgeous model, particularly for his age. Unlike a lot of the other models in that age, he's got really great proportions. He's got a cool pose, like drawing a sword from its scabbard.
Yeah,
he's got a decent detailed face. It's just a really nice mini, and some really nice rules. And like you say, he's in the books. I don't see the reason.
It makes. I mean, I assume the only reason that they would call something like this is it's got to be some kind of licensing thing, surely, hasn't it? But
people just throw that out. But there's no.
But it's got like, why else would you get rid of it? Like, I don't understand. Unless somebody specifically said you've got it, maybe it doesn't sell. I don't know. It just they've got.
We've got to bear in mind that I think this is where cross-pollination comes into it, and we've got to look at what they do with the other games when they like, and I doubt the game's designers have done this, but they're like, you need to slim down your list of profiles, you need to slim down your list of units, full stop, end of story. That's what you have to do.
And
they set a quota, and they're like, well, Gildor is sadly we'd prefer not to get rid of him, because I'm sure that none of the creatives and the creative teams want to get rid of these miniatures. I'm sure they'd be very happy having them hanging around forever. Unfortunately, he didn't meet some kind of criteria for what they wanted to do with the new profiles, or didn't fit neatly into all the new legions or something like that, and that's it. He's on the chopping block.
I think in my head, and again, this is when we knew that there was legacy stuff. I think everyone had their sort of ideas about what sort of things might be going. In my head, there was just no chance that something like this, that is so clearly from the from the books, also in scenarios as well. Like you won't be able to play some of the Quest of the Ringbearer scenarios without this miniature being available, which maybe they'll still do made to orders occasionally and say, here, if you want to play these old scenarios and do this. But it feels like you can't, if you're changing the edition, therefore some of these books like the Quest of the Ringbearer is no longer as valuable because you've got the Legendary Legion, the profiles in them are no longer up to date.
Yeah.
And up until now, I was thinking, but that's fine because my books have still got really good scenarios in for the miniatures to recreate the moments in the movie. But now they're going, well, actually, we're going to change or get rid of these profiles as well. It's going to make it a lot harder for people who really want to recreate moments in the books to be able to do that. And that's a real shame. I think that's what I was really surprised by that move. You're probably right. It's something to do with reducing the number of slots they have on the website, which seems mad to me because the internet's got loads of shite on it and they can't have enough room for that. But anyway, whatever. And that's the reason they're going to create a load of new Dunland stuff, so they have to make room for the Warrior Hero stuff. And I guess that's. I mean,
this is where my second kind of surprise comes in.
Good, yeah,
go for it. Surprised me, which was, and I know people are going to say, well, they're redoing the Dunland. It's like, but if I just explain, which is the new Forge World resin Dunland heroes, so Freyda and Gorulf.
Yeah, totally agree. That was on my list.
They show up a whole lot in the tables. You do see them a lot. They're good profiles. They're interesting profiles. They're cool models. I'm quite new to this game relative to all you oldies, but I remember that when they came out, and I get that they're doing new Dunland or Traitor Rohan, whatever that's going to end up meaning.
Yeah,
but we still have War of the Ring. We're still in War of the Ring. And for anyone before anyone says, well, they're not in the books or in the films. Yeah. There's obviously models that have survived the purge that aren't in the books or in the films.
Yeah, that's the inconsistency gets to me. But yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So those my sort of second and third surprise, I guess.
Yeah, and that was mine. The Dunland, and not just because again, it's the sort of thing.
Boy.
Sorry.
No, I just called him a thick boy. That's all.
He's really cool. I mean, the miniatures are great. They fit in with the Dunland aesthetic. Obviously, the Wildman is staying, isn't he? But I think they're going to change his name. It said, but it just it feels weird because I in the predictions beforehand, I think a lot of people were thinking, well, Dunland's probably safe because we've got this whole new Dunland based movie, and I know Thryden and Freyda and Gorulf won't be in the movie, but I kind of find it more strange that Dunland chieftains, Huskarls, warriors, horsemen are also going, because surely they would fit, even if they're kind of sympathetic to the Dunland aesthetic we see. Surely they're going to be plausible at least to fit in. So yeah, that was a big shock and a big surprise for me. I think we're right in the same page there. And I think the reason you seem to hint at it, the reason that one of the Dunland things was so surprising was that they were really quite recent. And I'm trying to think exactly how many years ago they were released, but it's only a couple of years ago. I think 2, maybe 3. I want to say.
3 or 4. I reckon.
Oh, is it that? It might be that long, but you're probably right.
In Middle Earth terms, that's young. That's brand new.
And this one is the one that surprised me. And I'm not saying I'm that bothered, although. They are literally one of the ones that I've still got fresh in the pack, which is kind of sad. But these came out last year, 2022, wasn't it? So because that was when the Defense of the North came out. Last year we had almost nothing released, but 2022 with the last big release, Defense of the North, we got the Easterlings, the Dragon Emperor, Ratabi Broadgear, and we got these two guys. And they've got the Assault on Lothlorien, we've got the Spider Fellbeings Legion with Razgush, and I'm just kind of surprised that they would completely axe profiles that have only been kicking about in the game for 2 years. So because the cost of them making those things, I don't know how it all works in Games Workshop, but surely it'll cost a lot of money to create profiles and design miniatures and have them printed and or molded or whatever it is, to then only have 2 years to make your money back. I mean, I don't know the economics on it, but I can't imagine that was an easy choice for them. And this is why I think people keep saying the word licensing as if we know at all what's going on. But
it does feel like that must be the only logical reason, right?
I disagree again. I think.
Oh, really?
I think just because look, I've never done any. I've never done any commercial work or any contract work or anything in licensing, but you would expect there to be some kind of consistency. You'd expect there to be some kind of logical throughput, tying the things that have gone together. If it was, because okay, let's say you've got these different categories, right? You've got the ones that might be in the films. It might be in the films. So I saw an interesting one about a theory about Quick Beam becoming Birch Seed.
I definitely want to talk about that at some point. Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Well, I won't go into it. But the point is that that's one very specific category. It's a name that New Line or Warner Bros. Or whoever it is owns, right, and has some control over. But then you've got others like the ones that GW invented, like Gorov, whatever, that aren't owned by them and they've got almost nothing to do with them. Games Workshop haven't licensed those names from anyone.
Yeah, the Games Workshop owns them basically, don't they? Yeah,
exactly. They might have a some kind of agreement in order to sell them as if they're Middle Earth miniatures, and to use the Middle Earth brand as a part of selling their own miniatures. But it's a different kettle of fish, and yet they're gone. And then you've got others again, which are in the books but not the films, and so they're things that I don't know. Do New Line have the rights to Gildor at all? I don't know, but it's a third category again, and yet there's some models from each category have gone and some models from each category have stayed. So to say that it's licensing suggests that a third party, a non-Games Workshop entity, has gone through the roster item by item and had some kind of contractually enforceable objection to each one of the models that's going, and I just can't see how or why that benefits them, or how they would go through and express that kind of contractual issue with models that either weren't in their films or were in their films, or were neither in their films or the books of which they might have rights. Are just Games Workshop entities. So it doesn't make sense to me. And I think it's more likely, I don't know, I could very well be proven wrong by someone who knows what they're talking about popping up and saying, actually, it's entirely plausible because of this and this and this. But to me, it seems much more likely that they've got a reasonably arbitrary quota, and they've gone through, and the creatives or the team managers or whatever have said, this isn't selling particularly well, this isn't very cool, this doesn't fit with what we want to do. So these are the ones that have got to go, and it's much more prosaic, I guess. Than
response to your assessment about the licensing, I'll bring this up. See this bottom right thing? What the hell is that? That's new. TMMEELIC.NLP, copyright NLPS 24. That's new. That's never been on anything before. Which is, and I've noticed there's a couple of things. That is quite. I've found that quite unusual. And obviously,
bring it up again.
It is just new. It's like people in the chat will know, like everyone who looks at Lord of the Rings miniatures and pictures and so on a lot will know that is not what we're used to seeing on these pictures, these videos.
Okay. This now we've got to a part of it. This is why I'm here. This is actually
this is like so down the rabbit hole before we intended to be, but sure.
Well, MEE is presumably Middle Earth something.
Enterprises,
Middle Earth Entertainment or something like that.
I think it's Middle Earth Enterprises, isn't it? That's
okay,
I think that exists.
LIC could be licensing, right? Sometimes you have companies set up specifically for the purpose of licensing products.
Yes.
So could it be Middle Earth Enterprises licensing?
It could be.
I mean, none of that actually. You said it was an answer to my points about.
It isn't at all.
It isn't at all. It's just the corporate body that owns them. But there's and then
just so you know, Middle Earth Enterprises is formerly known as Tolkien Enterprises and is a subdivision of Embracer Free Mode division of Embracer Group, and formerly a trade name for a division of the Saul Zaentz Company. Saul Zaentz is the guy who owned the rights to film The Lord of the Rings for a long time. And so that's according to Google, and on their website you can see that they have licenses with Weta Workshop, New Line Cinema, Middle Earth, lots of different things. They even sell Middle Earth honey, apparently. I don't see anywhere where it says anything to do with it does say Games Workshop. Tell a lie. So yeah, they have a license agreement with Games Workshop, but I don't think that's anything new necessarily. It might just be they've changed, what you put on the bottom right of a picture.
Yeah,
but it does hint at some kind of change.
There's definitely been a
I like I said, I still don't see how that translates to the specific roster of miniatures that they've decided to remove. And I think licensing is a really, with respect, easy thing to be like, it must be licensing thing.
Yeah.
But
it's because we don't understand it. It's like this nebulous sort of bad
like,
guy.
yeah, like, it is. That's
exactly. Licensing. They must have done that because of licensing.
Yeah. We're like my dog when I get her ball and then I sort of go like that and it goes up my sleeve and she's like, oh shit, something I don't understand has happened. Yeah. And rationally, it has to be the neighbor's dog's fault, and so she starts barking at her. This is like, I don't have a better explanation for it.
Yeah, it's true, but it's interesting. It's interesting. We did go down that rabbit hole quite quickly, and I can't remember where we went from, but I think it was from the Mordor Forge World Orcs that I wanted to shout out as being just strange that they were going, because that was my third surprise on the list, including the Dunland of my top 5 most surprising things. I'll have a quick. There's quite a lot of comments being generated.
There's loads, yeah. People are
quickly dip in there. I think people are saying. You know what? Let's do finish off the surprises so that I can read through them, because otherwise it might spoil some of ours. But people are starting to talk about those. So, what's your next surprise off your list?
Next surprise. Okay, I tell you what, surprises are so much more difficult than disappointments. Are we doing surprises of things that didn't go as well?
Yes, yeah, that's fine. You can do surprise by anything. Yeah,
I can. Yeah,
you can say what you like.
Okay, well, this did surprise me. Is Grimbold going entirely?
Yeah.
And the Helmingus, I can never pronounce that word. Command.
Yeah. No, I agree.
I my first reaction, and I know this isn't true, and this is my victim mentality brain. I was like, I thought that there was some Games Workshop higher up, scrolling through Games Workshop social media at 2:00 in the morning, drunk off his face on scotch, sitting in his boxers with like the flies kind of hanging open, just this absolute mess of a human. Yeah. And everyone's like, oh, give Grimbold his horse, give Grimbold his horse, give Grimbold his horse. And he's like, oh, you don't like Grimbold that horse, don't you? Well, fuck you, you nerds. You don't get Grimbold at all now. And they took away.
Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, that was a surprise to me again, and it's the same sort of reason for a couple of the other surprises that I've had, is that he's in the book. He's mentioned by the in the films as well. I think they say Grimbold go to the left or whatever it is. And that was a surprise for me. And in a similar way, Erkenbrand would be my next choice of people who were surprised. I was most surprised.
Ugly ass model though.
I mean, it's a crap model. Don't get me wrong.
Grimbold is a lovely model.
Yeah, the metal. I quite like the metal version of Erkenbrand. The foot one's quite good. The guy riding the horse is ridiculous, but that's partially because the horses are crap. But again, Erkenbrand, big deal in the movie. In the books. He's like he saves Helm's Deep. It's not Aemir and Gandalf.
He's Aemir, yeah. He's proxy.
And I kind of find that removing some is such a key. I mean, it's clear that they're going down. I say it's clear. It seems like they're going, well, movies are absolutely the front of people's minds, so therefore, we're not interested in this Erkenbrand, because people get confused if you start saying Erkenbrand is the guy who helped at Helm's Deep, because people like the movies. Maybe that's the logic behind it. Maybe he wasn't selling very well. Maybe it's because he's an old model. Who knows? It was still a surprise to me, because he's a name that I knew from the books, and was, it was always nice to hear about him. I
mean, Grimbold, I think I genuinely do, despite my sort of disgrace of a human shirt covered in cheese kind of guy image, it could genuinely have been like, look, we basically agree it's really weird for him not to have a horse, but we're not going to make one with a horse. So
yeah, maybe that's it.
But the thing is, it was a very that's the thing that kind of bugged me, was he was one of the more unique Rohan characters and made that faction play in a different way, whereas a lot of the other characters do quite similar things and make them play in a very in a quite a uniform way, and so it's disappointing to lose him when he can sort of shake it up and make them a little bit different.
Yeah, same as Gildor, isn't it? Like it's going, here's a model which can make the other models that you have a second purpose. And it's kind of weird that, like, isn't that kind of strange that you think, well, this is a profile that will encourage people to buy this existing plastic thing and give it a second use. Or I guess you could think of it the other way and say, well, we want people buying two different types of troops rather than buying one
box that you can use for 2 different things. I don't know. Either way, it was a shame, and I was sad. I was sad about that. The final of my 5, I don't know how many you've got up to, but the final of my 5 is something that I think somebody's mentioned in the chat already, which is Anborn and Mablung. Again, I don't think nobody's going to be. I don't think anyone's going to be really that desperately bothered by Anborn and Mablung being removed from sale. But again, Forge World miniature, pair of miniatures that were released only a few years ago for the Quest of the Ringbearer. So yeah, probably getting on for 4 years now, 5 years maybe. Is that right? It must be around there. I think it was just at the start of COVID, wasn't it? The Quest of the Ringbearer, and they're forged and they're named Rangers of Athelion in the book. And they're gone. It's crazy. And yet, crappy Damrod model is still there. Like, what if you're going to keep one Ranger of Athelion model? Damrod is that seriously the choice? That is crazy. I just think just bin Damrod and change the models of Anborn and Mablung to be called Damrod or something if you really prefer Damrod. But my God, I just found that really shocking. Really surprising. But anyway.
Yeah,
you don't care, do you? That's the thing. I can sense from your reaction you don't care about Anborn and Mablung. People will be sad about that.
I don't enormously care, but we're not on the ones that we care about.
No, that's true.
We're on the ones, and at all times, I do genuinely. I mean, I'm genuinely saddened for people who have painted them. We spend a lot of time with these miniatures, a lot of time.
Yeah.
And I mean, we're going to get on, I think, to the commentary online. But one of the things I'll say is the one. It's fine for everyone to have their different opinions and et cetera, et cetera. But the one thing I'm always really surprised to see when we're talking about these issues, whenever there's a cull in any range, is like, oh, kind of get over it. It's your little toy soldiers, like, crack on. It's like, guys, we're all in the same plague pit here. We're all massive nerds who spend hours and hours with these little toys. Can we at least acknowledge that to each of us, these are important things and things that we spend an enormous amount of time with and spend an enormous amount of money on. Well, and it is okay to be sad about it. Like, it is okay to be frustrated.
I tell you, anyone who says, "Oh, get over it," I think, I personally, I know there is a significant part of the community who are perhaps more supportive of Games Workshop, or I don't know what their kind of agenda is there, and that maybe they're just still really positive about the game, and that's fine. And if you want to be really positive about it, great. But telling someone else that their army that they've spent a lot of time painting and probably a lot of money assembling, if in the case of Canned, Farharad, your Anborn and Mablung, these aren't cheap things. It kind of comes across from a place of privilege to me. It's like, actually, maybe you can afford to buy these armies and put them on a shelf to look pretty, and maybe the other person who's just spent a lot of money can't afford to do these things, and now they don't have as much value because they're not able to be played in the game, so you can't even sell them on, and like that kind of grinds my gears. So you're absolutely allowed to be upset by these miniatures being removed.
I mean, my point anyway was that it's not mutually exclusive, right? Some people take it as an affront, and that's the thing that they're like, all right, look, the company's got to do what it's going to do. It's doing it to try and make some money, which is why it exists. And I might be like 100%. I could even be like, this isn't my view, but it could be like, this is a good thing. Let's clear out the cobwebs and let's refresh the range. This is the kick up the arse the game needs. Again, it's not my view, but I still am sad that I'm losing my army, or I sympathize with people who are losing theirs to Legends. Like, you don't have to be attack or defense kind of thing.
Yeah, I think it's the grey which most people seem to in modern society struggle with. So that's kind of unsurprising. But anyway, there you go. That's my top 5. Did you have any more that you were shocked and surprised by?
I'm bored of being shocked and surprised. Let's get on to the stuff that made us cry.
Okay, well, let's look at the comments and stuff first. So There's been loads and loads of comments since. The first one was, what do you think about Mablung and Anborn? They didn't live long, RIP. Yeah, I totally agree, Darren. And that's why, I mean, again, it's not perhaps that I don't own those miniatures, so I'm not but I am surprised. Joe Achilles says, top 5 losses for me, Arrestor, Gildor, Erkenbrand, Vrasku, and Mauher, all named characters, all seen/used in games.
Mauher, yeah.
Tough losses. Is Vrasku? I think Vrasku's a GW invention.
I think
Mauher is strangely one of the only Urukai I think named in the sort of scout sequence from memory in the book.
He's named in the films. There's Ugluk, who's named in the films and Lurtz.
He's credited in the films I saw on the group.
Oh, is he credited? Well, I know, but he's definitely, because he's. I think he helps fight AMR and dies. I think pretty quickly.
I think one thing someone pointed out was that the Games Workshop Malheur doesn't look anything like the film Malheur.
No, he doesn't. That's true.
He's a pretty shoddy model.
It's a crap model. It's a crap model, but the profile, it's surprising that he's been removed. I totally agree with that one. So I just realised I have left all my miniatures in the bin, and I've started throwing cans on top of them now. So that joke has actually landed quite poorly. Anyway, so Julian says Dit and those. Darren says Erkenbrand surprised me. Arrestor was a bizarre choice. Also lessens the options for lower point Rivendell armies. I mean, it is an odd one. I don't remember, but I read someone say that. Oh yeah, exactly. Dwarves and Moria are getting really, really screwed, aren't they?
Welcome to Balrog and a lot of goblins, I guess.
Goblins, yeah, it's kind of strange. I-Wing, the biggest single saddest thing is the loss of Harad's flavorful units. They made the obscure Southern Land more alive, as well as interesting as a standalone army. I personally, I think, I mean, we'll get onto it in a second, but I think these are actually surprising ones for me, also disappointing ones, because I started my gaming getting really invested in the Lord of the Rings miniatures game because of the potency of the stuff that that Matt Ward had written, which was all in the sort of Harad source books, and that was where it was all developed, and sort of all of the richness of Tolkien's world was kind of expanded by Games Workshop in a way that I think was in many ways more interesting and more characterful than other. The Rings of Power, for example. I think it did a really good job, and it made me really, really fall in love with Tolkien in a way that Tolkien's writing himself actually didn't do. So yeah, I'm sad about that. Vrascu is made up by GW, says Julian. His Julian's surprises are Gildor, Erkenbrand, Arrestor, and Dol Amroth Men-at-Arms and Outriders. Yeah, I think Outriders are an unusual one again. I mean, they're not very nice models, so I can understand why you're getting rid of them.
And they don't show up all that often.
No, but I get, I see it. The Dol Amroth Men-at-Arms is an unusual one. And it's weird because they've been out of stock for a long time. Like, I started my Fiefdom's army, I don't know when, it was before Christmas last year. So it's been getting on, and they were not available in sort of this time last year. And I don't think they've been available since. I wonder if I wonder whether part of the reason some of these things have been culled from the range is because the sculpts were just not very good. They were deteriorating. I don't know. This is pure conjecture, but it wouldn't surprise me if they were like, well, actually, the Men-at-Arms mold's crap because it was made in, whenever, and it's been converted into fine cast, and the fine cast one's crap, and the metal one's gone, or something like that. Who knows? It could be something as simple as that.
Actually makes a lot more sense to me than licensing, because that's the kind of thing where it's like, that explains the apparently random nature, of some of the losses, because it's like we will never know. Then we can't put those dots together, but they can be like, we're going to do an inventory, figure out which ones are in the worst condition, and we're just not going to invest in replacing them.
Yeah, and the best way of not investing to replace them is by just going, well, bye, that's it. And especially if they're stuff that you think it's kind of half and half. Men-at-Arms of Dol Amroth, they're an unusual one in the sense they're like believably from the books, but they're not specifically mentioned in the books. Like there probably are Men-at-Arms mentioned, but like are they kind of like this? I don't know. And then are they pike wheel?
And that would explain something like so one actually just going back to the shocks was Barlin. I was very surprised to see Barlin.
Oh yes, yeah, we didn't mention him.
No, we didn't. But he's like, that's another one. Huge player, and also not an easy loss from the list either. So
and again, it's a very, very old model. So is it again? It could be the sculpt, and that was another one that was turned from metal into resin as well. So it could be that. I might have heard it. Somebody has definitely mentioned to me in the past that they converted a lot of these metal things into resin, and there's a chance that they removed the sort of original molds from the metal, and then the resin ones were deteriorating. I don't know if that was any great important source, but it certainly would start to explain some of these things that have been, metal models that have been converted into fine cast and then
maybe they weren't very important, so they didn't think it was worth keeping the metals. I don't know. Who knows? It's all pure conjecture. But interesting stuff. Farm to tabletop. These war gear changes seem very minor compared to removing characters from the book like Erkenbrand and Gildor, or the very new Forge World kits going. Yeah, I agree. We'll get onto the war gear at some point later on if we can. There's a lot of time talking about this stuff, but who knows? I think we've got time to get into a lot of stuff, but I agree. Erkenbrand and Gildor, the new Forge World kits, they're the surprises for me. Removing mounted Grimmer is savage. As far as I know, there's no official model, so anyone who has converted it, especially, it seems somewhat punitive. Yeah.
That's the one that didn't surprise me at all.
Yeah,
because back in the day when you actually did convert them, then that kind of makes sense. But now I think they're looking on Etsy. They're like, there's a mounted Grima that people have. I've got one. I've got two because I broke the first one. And they're like, get fucked. We're not going to stimulate the economy of the 3D printed market.
I think that's it. It's like when there's an obvious gap in the range. But the weirdest thing for me is things like, they've removed Grimmer on horse, which again, as Grimdog Future says, is a good opportunity for conversion. Fine. But then they haven't removed catapult trolls, and I know we see them in the movie, but they've never ever even the idea that those catapult trolls exist in the thing, or even the signal tower. There's no miniature for them. There's no base size for them. They're just these innocuous models that have been there as a profile for so long since the Hobbit era.
I might be really, really. Might be about to say something really stupid. Is anything from the Hobbit on the list?
We not a lot. The only one you've already mentioned is the what's it called? I think.
And the Castellans of Dol Guldur and the Spider.
Well, yeah, but Castellans, they're not from the Hobbit era. They're from the sort of they're from the Fall of the Necromancer book, which was very old. So yeah, no, I don't think so. It's only the Thranduil on horse, unless somebody will tell us if we're wrong. But I think it is just Thranduil on horse, which is But maybe that's because the Hobbit miniatures were pretty consistently taken from the films.
Yeah.
So there were specific things that we saw in the movies and they turned into a profile. Whereas a lot of the other stuff is from that time in between the Fellowship of the trilogy of Peter Jackson movies up until the Hobbit era, where Games Workshop was kind of going wild creating stuff. Interesting. Jeffrey Smith says they seem to be removing models from the books more than anything, prepping for the new edition. Jeff, yeah, I mean, I guess that's the only logical thing. But it's not just stuff from the books, is it? It's stuff that, as you can see on this thing on the screen here, we've got Murin and Jar, which is made up. Floy Stonehand, pretty sure he's made up as well. King's Champion, Shield Bearer. These are all miniatures that were designed by Games Workshop. But then there are others from the books that don't make sense. I mean, obviously, the obvious thing that hasn't been removed is anything we saw in the films, I think. Even to stupid models like Theodred, who is probably one of the worst sculpts in the game. That awful. Face is just horrendous.
So poor.
But that's staying around,
But anyway, as we've discussed, some film stuff has gone.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, but I mean, like Grimbold and mentioned people things that are vaguely mentioned in the movies. Yeah, that's true. Interesting though. Dominic Sargent says, "Why do you think some of the big MESBG YouTubers are seemingly positive and not calling it out for what it is? Is it to keep the game relevant, to keep their viewers up, and not lose money?" Oh, that's a cynical thing to say. I don't know why anyone would think
Harry,
that. Hit the super chat.
Speak for the YouTubers.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to think. I don't know which ones you're referring to.
Are there any big MESBG YouTubers? That's my question.
Well, that's a good point. People like Lockie from Zorbsnubs is probably the only person who's a large YouTuber. I mean, what's his face from Conquest Creations? He makes a living off YouTube. I wouldn't say he was positive about the change, but he wasn't stingingly hurt by either when I watched his video. So I don't know, but I mean the guys at Tube Noobs and Men, they were absolutely devastated by it all. I think
I love the fact you keep bringing the comment back.
Yeah, I think the answer to that for me is people. I think people have different opinions, and some big MESBG YouTubers maybe are just trying to stay positive. I don't think. I mean, I'm going to continue playing the game. That doesn't mean I'm not sad about the stuff we're losing. So I don't know. Interesting. It's
an interesting point. I'm not convinced that that's the reason, but who knows? Maybe it's true. Maybe it's true. Frederick Schultz says War in Rohan was end of 2019, so pretty much 5 years ago. I can't remember what that was talking about. That would be the Dunland.
I think that was Frida and
yeah.
Gold.
The Dunland list is the main reason we need more info from Games Workshop about how the new lists will work. Getting rid of those heroes doesn't make a lot of sense. I think for me, it's probably because of the time, the sort of eras. So because the War of the Rohirrim film is set a lot earlier in the Middle Earth timeline than where the Dunland heroes are set. So having them in the same army might be a bit confusing. It might not work. I don't know. But yeah, it's still a shame. Still a shame. Frederick says probably axing those named orcs because Mordor already has a lot of stuff. Very sad, really like them. Yeah, and GW Inventions as well. It just feels like there are other, or I know there are a lot of, I can't remember how many Mordor heroes survived, but there were an awful lot of stuff that's gone. I'm scrolling. Goroth Zagdush as well, there too, that also went at the same time. They're a bit older. Kardush, that's another GW invention. I think maybe just the GW inventions have gone from Mordor, actually, but still. There's a lot of them. It's it's the Night of the Long Knives for the old the old thing. Although that's perhaps an insensitive historical comparison, but still.
Harry, I'm just going to really quickly point out. I think you're about a quarter of the way through the comments.
Am I actually?
You're not. Yeah, not very far. Not very far.
All right, I'm going to bash through. I think Quick Beam being renamed, which is one of the weirder parts of the announcement, is clue that it creates confusion and inconsistency the way things are depicted have gone. Yeah, I mean. Well, let's talk about it now because I think you mentioned Birch Seed earlier. Birch Seed is so Quick Beam is an actual name from Tolkien. I think there are 5 or something like that named Ents in Tolkien, and one of them is Quick Beam. Birch Seed is not one of them. So this seems really weird to me. Why would you?
Well, did you see someone post the Weta Workshop?
No. Yeah, go ahead. I'm intrigued by this because I haven't.
Trying to find it.
If you can send a link to me, I'll be able to get it on. But if you talk about it, but I'll while you find the link, I just think it seems odd to me to change the name of a model, which is based on a name from Tolkien, into something that has no origin in Tolkien's writing at all, unless you have a really logical answer for it that you're going to.
One answer, which I think is plausible. We won't know until the new movie comes out, but was that Weta Workshop has designed a load of different faces for different Ents, and so they have a sign that there is a Birch Seed, and Birch Seed. I've sent you the poster.
Yeah, I've got it on screen.
Okay, great. Birch Seed is the Ent in the top left, which clearly is the Forge World Resin Ent. So it does say Birch Seed if you are.
Yeah, I can't read that, but yeah, okay, fine. Yeah.
And Quick Beam I think Quick Beam is bottom right. So there is a Quick Beam and there is a Birch Seed according to Weta Workshop. And for some reason, Games Workshop assigned the model that's clearly Birch Seed, the Quick Beam's name. And someone pointed out, so I said in response to the comment, so that's interesting. So maybe they're just essentially correcting a past mistake. And someone responded and say, maybe it's not a mistake. Maybe it's that the new film is going to feature the Ents, and it's going to name Quick Beam or Birch Seed. Therefore, they need to have their ducks in a row, basically.
Yeah, that could. I mean, yeah. Okay, I will retract my disappointment and shock and anger. That's it. That's some.
I made a meme and posted the meme, and then that comment came up, and I was like, well, I look like a fucking idiot, don't I?
It's all right, Alex. You always look like an idiot. But that one is an inch. That that makes me less sad or less confused anyway. So there we go. If that's true, which it may well not be.
iWing is saying it was them who responded. Just
okay. There you go. Nice one, iWing. Well done. Having a wider Dunland line not in keeping with the look for the new film is maybe too confusing. Maybe the licensing thing is just that a certain percentage have to be film stuff, not external people going through the entire catalog and telling them to remove individual models and profiles. Maybe I saw someone post on Facebook earlier about half an hour ago. They've done the maths. They say there are 439 different profiles currently in the game. 77 of them are going to Legacy, which is around 17.5%. So that's slightly different from the maths you did earlier, Alex.
But I didn't do the maths. I simply saw the maths and recounted it as if it were fact.
Yes, and I have just done the same with a different figure. Michael's in. He says, good evening, everyone. Anything happened recently then in the world of MESBG? Is that a laughing emoji as well? I like it. It's like a sort of
Blue one, I've never seen that. Middle Earth Enterprises licensing New Line Productions. I think that's exactly what the logo was that we're talking about. Wow, we are a long way from what we were talking about. Feel like pure shit. Just want my Mordor cow back. Yeah, that is one of the disappointing ones.
Yeah, that was sad.
I mean, it's tragic for me. I literally, I'm trying to rummage. I'm rummaging. Okay, I bought the Great Beast of Gorgoroth a few months ago, and the Golden King of Harad a few months ago, with the plan to do a crazy alliance, because I was like, I just want to do something that's a bit silly, and I wanted to have Golden King of Harad sort of steal the will away from people to stop them being able to charge the Great Beast, and I was going to launch severed heads at them with the Mordor catapult, and all of this stuff may well not be allowed to happen anymore because it depends how Legacy Miniatures work, but we'll talk on that in a bit. But still, yeah, I am sad about the Mordor cow as well. Glad you didn't have John on. I think he'd have loads of positive stuff to say. Darren Warner, I agree. James, great model. That is in the film minus the howdah. Yeah. Sounds like a very xenophobic dog, Alex. Intriguing. Joining late, sup fellas. Indeed. I bought the very last Arrestor with Kurdan from GW. Kind of don't want to paint it now. You should paint it. You should take them out of their box and give them life, because otherwise they will be sad. Might be the exact opposite, actually. Binned Grimbold and focusing more on film stuff could mean we get a mounted film version eventually when they revisit the Pelennor in a supplement. Maybe. That's a very optimistic way of thinking about it.
The glass half full thinking.
Yeah, it's true. They confirmed the order, changed his listing to sold out, and the next day released this news. Wow. Okay, that's
interesting. That's one thing I was going to mention is that I saw one comment saying, "Well, it's good that at least they're giving us notice to buy all the stuff."
Yeah,
most of them have already not only got sold out. A lot of the item listings have just been expunged altogether.
Yeah. I was looking to try and get some of these images. I was going on the Games Workshop web to go that Mablung, no, you get the Razgush, no. They're just completely deleted.
I thought I'll buy a couple of them. Then obviously the teams don't communicate properly because the PR team were like, well, don't worry, we'll give people notice, put one last chance to buy, which is what they do sometimes. And then whoever's doing the operations is like, no, fuck that. They're gone. They've had their last chance.
I would imagine what's happened is someone from the Middle Earth team's written that article 3 months ago, and it's taken that long to get it onto the website, which I have great sympathy for them, but it does feel a bit. It's like they literally didn't give us a chance to say goodbye to some of these miniatures, which feels really, really hard. But anyway, that's the way it is. I 100% agree with Alex regarding Grimbold. Amborn and Mablung were late 2020. I feel like Grimbold's my fault. I never got around to painting him. Soz. Very good. Crappy Damrod. The model is quite new. What are you talking about? That might get a rework. Damrod. Oh, you know what? There is a new plastic Damrod, isn't there? Okay, I take it back. I was thinking of the crappy old Damrod, which had this really horrible metal thing. Anyway, Evening All says, Curtis, spot on, Harry. I can only assume that's about everything I've said in the last hour and a half or hour. I don't know what it's about. I'm not that afraid of this coming edition, with Legacy likely being very common at tournaments, etc., but more of the NEYT edition possibly dropping in 2 or 3 years and deleting them entirely. I assume that's a typo and it's meant to say new edition possibly dropping in 2 years. Who knows? The only positive I get from this is that they must be making room for new stuff. Judging by the new stuff so far, it's going to be great. That's another positive thing. Yes, they're definitely making new room for new stuff. God, hope the movie's good. You know, if this movie sucks, we're all going to be like, oh, do we really have to have Frecker? Or whoever, what's that, General Thorn or whatever it was that was.
They are gambling a lot on that.
They are. It's intriguing, but hey, they can always go back to some of these things if the movie tanks. Grimbold got me. Part of my reason for getting the new starter set was to use the Rohan as Helmingus. That's true, but yeah. I mean, luckily you didn't get the new starter set because it's not out yet. I own them, got them for Quest of the Ring Bearer. I assume that's talking about Amborn and Mablung. Mauher is in the book and movie, but the role given to him was Lugdush's role, which is Ugluk's lieutenant. Fingers crossed for him instead in the future. Okay. The day I wanted to finally order the King's Champion, they said nope. That's what I get for taking models for granted, I guess. Yeah, I think a lot of us, this is the problem. A lot of us who love this hobby and love the range so far have become very complacent because it's one of the few GW ranges where everything that has ever been created by Games Workshop from it has pretty much stayed for sale, with a very few exceptions. Even the made-to-order stuff has brought things back. So, yeah, it does feel a bit sort of, for anyone who's only played Lord of the Rings for this long, it's, yeah, I guess that's the thing. I can sense you want to say something.
No.
You just had this sort of look of wisdom on your lips. Maybe you were just reading something clever. I don't know.
I've never had a look of wisdom.
That's true. I'll just stop screen sharing. I'm most sad about the book characters we've lost, especially Arrestor and Gildor, as I'm near completing my Rivendell army. Is Arrestor actually? I wasn't sure whether he was. I thought he was a GW creation. Maybe he's just a character he's mentioned in brief, but I don't know. Maybe you're right, Curtis. It is Gildor. I think is a real tragedy. Arrestor, again, he's a cool model, and it's not a bad profile. It's a pretty cool model. It's a strange one for me. Overall, I think it's a good move for the game to refresh the game and for GW to offer the full range for newer players. Legacy doesn't mean dead. You will certainly be able to play them at G-Boot. We'll talk about that in a bit, about what the shape of playing them means. Changes means Rohan's going to be 100% film stuff from now on, right? Yeah, I guess so. When I come to thinking about starting new armies, what's in Legacy will be uppermost in my mind, as they're likely to only be playable for a period in non-Warhammer World tournaments. Yeah, I think that is as much as Curtis says G-Boot, you'll be able to play them at G-Boot. It's like, how long will that last? And I think you probably have more experience of this than I do of armies going into those legacy piles.
This is the really interesting thing. I don't know whether we want to get to that conversation now, whether you want to finish the comments. But what legacy means is, I think, at the crux of the matter, and I think we don't entirely know yet. Yes. So there's been a few examples. Obviously, stuff from 40k and Sigmar's gone into Legacy. 40k, I think, is the only game that's actually had a couple of issues where they've gone, where a couple of editions where they've put stuff to Legacy in sequence. Excuse me. So we know what happens over a long enough time frame, and over a long enough time frame, they just disappear. That's what happens. Well, I think you often get. You often get tournament organizers very, very enthusiastic about them at the beginning, but inevitably, eventually, as the balance moves on and complaints grow about legacy models, that people sour on them. Yeah, they eventually get filtered out. So it is, I think, inevitably. It might not be them being dead, but I do think it's the beginning of the end for anything in Legacy.
I think you're probably right there, unless something strange happens.
Well, there is an example of something strange. Again, sorry to interrupt.
No, I'm intrigued because you have more knowledge on this than I do. I don't have any experience with it at all.
Well, in the old world, obviously, what they did is they released a whole bunch of armies. I think it's 9. Someone might correct me. I think it's 9 which they said they were going to support. And the rest of them, which are the carryovers from Warhammer Fantasy, they said these will go to Legends, I think they call it in the old world. And therefore, you can play them casually, but they said they're not going to be legal at tournaments. Of course, everyone said that everyone should ignore that, because it's not up to Games Workshop to decide what TO is going to do.
Sure.
But they did say, we're not going to update them. We're not going to update them. They won't get any FAQs. They won't get any points adjustments. The backlash was very, very significant, and TOs just ignored it and started allowing those armies anyway. And people started using those armies, bringing them along, particularly because it's such, it's a very, very different time investment. When we think it's bad in MESBG that you lose an army, painting an army for the old world is like 4 times the number of models.
It's mad. Yeah.
And when it came to doing an FAQ and points adjustment for the old world, Games Workshop reneged basically on their commitment not to update them, and did give them an update, gave all the Legends armies an update. So that's the silver lining, is community power can have an impact, I think. And I think they decided that actually we at least for the first 6 month FAQ, we do need to give these Legends an update.
I think to me it seems I'd be very surprised if tournaments didn't allow them for a while, and the GBHL if there are people from out of the country, I don't know what your various tournament organizers are doing, but the GBHL is basically saying TOs can do what they want, but there is a caveat. There is a caveat in the sense that at some point, as you sort of hinted at, that if those profiles come out and they're really imbalanced, or then they don't work, or they don't slot in, and people start abusing that kind of relationship between the legacy models and the whatever's in the current edition, it's the sort of thing that I can see potentially, certainly at the more competitive events, going, well, look, we're just going to ban legacy models because it's not balanced properly or whatever. But we'll see. But it's, it does feel like the start of the end to me.
I think one thing that someone pointed out, and I think this is, I don't know, someone with, I'm not a competitive gamer, and I can't speak authoritatively on the subject, but from my hunch is that this is correct, is that when Games Workshop puts stuff in Legacy, they err on underpowering them.
Yes, I think
so that they don't have to rebalance them later, because obviously if they overpower them, then people will want to continue to bring them. But I think that's actually the right way of doing it, because then TOs won't get complaints about them.
Yeah.
But we can continue to, and I wouldn't care about if this edition lasts another 4 or 5 years, which it might do. It's MESBG, and for those 4 or 5 years, all the legend stuff is a little bit underpowered, but it's still available, and that means that TOs get to continue to allow them for the next 4 or 5 years to the next edition. Then I think I completely agree with people saying that they're not dead, because they'll become just the fluffy options that people can bring, as they often do, because it's such a great community, and people often like to bring the themey armies. And they'll get to continue doing that. And fine, you're not going to win any games, but people already bring armies that aren't going to win many games because they want to bring them.
Yeah, exactly. And I can see that happening. I mean, things like, for example, Floy or the Spider Queen, who come up in say the Spider Queen's a really competitive model. That's going to just there's no way it's going to be as powerful as it is. But also, if it's a legacy model, the alliance rules for it might be it will be completely different, I assume. And so that probably won't be the same as it was. And then Floy, for example, you might just completely change the rules for him so that he can't just do what he used to do, which broke the game a bit and turn off models and stuff. Who knows? But that seems to be the way to do it. Say Floy is a nice character who you can bring. If you like the character Floy, once he's not a game-breaking miniature, feel free to bring him along, but don't expect him to be a game-breaking miniature. And soon people start to fall out of love with stuff. Like I remember Feral Urukai were one of the targets in the of the nerf in the new edition, because they were really, really overpowered before, and people had loads of them. And they were like, I love my Feral Urukai. They're fantastic. And then as soon as the new edition came out and they were crap, suddenly you never see any Feral Urukai. I don't think I've seen one since the
they never show up. Yeah.
And of course the models were unusual and out of stock a lot. So that's kind of it. Yeah, they've basically been.
We're in Berserker land now.
Yeah, exactly. I can't even remember. I'm sure that they got rid of they removed them. They're now legacies as well. So interesting. Another one back to surprises.
Very, very, very briefly. I'm so sorry.
Oh no, you're fine.
That's one of the ones I couldn't give a shit about.
Yeah, I absolutely couldn't give a shit about Feral.
I don't care.
The models are weird. The profile was strange. They had nothing to do with Tolkien.
And there are plenty of Urukai troop options.
Exactly.
Even post legacy stuff. We've got Berserkers, we've got Uruks, we've got Wargs, we've got the Scouts. Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree. GW's biggest surprise is when they remember Druiden existed after the culling.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the sort of stuff that I was pretty confident would stay, because they are quite a key part in the book. But then it must have been close, because Druidan, you could compare Gangburi Gan to Gildor in terms of this sort of involvement in the story. Gildor actually interacts with the ring bearer, so I think that's a bit more, I guess, vaguely more important. I don't know, maybe not, but they must have come close to thinking about getting rid of them, right?
So I was surprised. That was actually one of the biggest surprises for things that stayed, for 2 reasons. One, the models are really naff. I'm sorry, they're not good.
I love those models, but
I really hate them.
Yeah.
2, they're a bit racist.
Yeah, they are a little bit racist, aren't they?
They're quite problematic. And I thought,
they are straight out of. To be fair, Tolkien. I mean, Tolkien famously not a racist. But yeah, they are a little bit, I guess, because the way they talk.
This is like when in fantasy they had orcs, and they were dressed like the typical sort of colonial idea of African savages, and they called them spear chuckers. And it's like, mate, that is actually just it's an American racial pejorative. It just is not similar. It is a racial pejorative that was very popular for a while. It's like, and they very quietly decided that they should retire that name.
Indeed. But you're right. I thought they were pretty close they were the sort of miniatures that I could easily expect going, and I would have been sad about it, because I quite like them.
I've been very happy about it, only because you absolutely crushed me with them.
Yes,
but then we played 3 times, and you crushed me all 3 times. So it seems like
true.
Armies you could crush me with. I think I want to go then.
Skill problem. Frederick Schultz says,
maybe GW should have got rid of you.
Yes, exactly. I am a legacy. Men at Arms are mentioned. Anything that beyond that, Pikes, was GW's interpretation. Thank you. I agree. We should stop thinking of legacy as dead. It's a shame that the models won't be available now, but people who have the models or proxies can still play the legacy profiles. As we've just kind of touched on that, isn't it? It's just a matter of how is the big question, and nobody really knows that yet. Balin makes sense, says Frederick, just like the original Necromancer things being replaced by Hobbit film stuff. No double woof elf army list, etc. Double woof elf. I quite like to see an army of elves and dogs. But anyway, Birch Seed moot. Very good, Andreas. Thank you. I read somewhere GW is going thematic, meaning they want the big name characters from books, movies to become the new meta and appear more on tabletop. So some of these models going might help that happen. Yeah, but then they've kept Black Numenorians in. Well, what the hell's that all about? They're probably one of the worst sculpts in the range. The fine cast Black Numenorians, and I'm not particularly confident on this, but I'm pretty sure that Tolkien mentions them only by name in passing, and then that's it. And they're one of the most egregious profiles in the game, and yet they're staying. What? That doesn't make any sense. And alongside the Witch King and Suladan, so there's every chance, which are all on the Pelennor fields. There's every chance that the same meta list that's been dominating top tables for a long time could still work. Who knows? I hope not. Probably not. Maybe it's just because the Morgul Knights are plastic and they want to keep them, but who knows? But still, at least they are clearly making a choice of that. If there are fewer profiles in the game, that it'll force people to play Aemir and Gandalf and stuff like that, which is cool, I guess. There wasn't really GW invented Hobbit stuff. The GW inventions came between the Lord of the Rings and Hobbit films, and then the Hobbit. Yeah. Only did Iron Hills later. They did. That's true. They would have never got the extra mile to invent more Hobbit stuff at the time. Yeah, that's true. Why are those big MESBG who are these big MESG YouTubers are so positive? Yeah, who knows? Is the last chance buy section? There are Battle Hosts and Gundabad Orc Captain. Is there any news on them getting a new sculpt or something? Because I don't remember seeing those on the list. I think that must be a mistake. The only unless
the last chance to buy
Gundabad Orc Captain or the Battle Hosts.
Are the Battle Hosts?
I don't know. I haven't seen them on. I haven't checked. To be fair,
look, I'm having a look.
You have a look. I'd be surprised unless they're changing the contents of them. Which, if it's like the Rohan Battle Host, you probably would change the contents of that because you'll probably soon be a War of the Rohirrim themed one. But as regards the others,
it is. It's only the Rohan Battle Host, but that does make sense.
That would be why I'd have thought.
It's got the old warriors in.
Old warriors and also Aemir, and they probably just change it to Hera or someone else. Who knows?
Yeah.
In terms of Gundabad Orc Captain, if it's the last chance to buy, I'd imagine it'll go into a pack of Gundabad warriors, which is what they've done with most of the other things like that. I can't imagine them getting rid of it because it's not on the list. I assume legacy models will have the lists they can be in as part of their profile. Fingers crossed. Yeah, I think this is something we haven't really touched on yet. I mean, how do you think these legacy models are going to interact with the game? Because bear in mind, at the moment, all we know really is that legendary legions, according to I think the post that's been deleted now, is going to be the sort of de facto way of writing army lists. So you're going to have like a sort of pretty narrow, well, not narrow, but like a very thematic list of models that were in a certain place or at a certain time or in a certain battle or whatever, and that will be your choice. So how are you going to squeeze in a legacy model into that? What do you think?
Well, I think Ryan's right. I think it's going to be that the rules are going to have to be on the legacy profile, the legacy sheet themselves, right? This model can be taken as a part of I don't know.
Say for example, like the Riders of Aemir Legion. Currently, you're allowed Aemir, Gandalf, and Erkenbrand. They're getting rid of Erkenbrand. That's going legacy. So I guess if you put him in a legacy list, it'll just say Erkenbrand can be used as part of the Riders of Aemir Legion instead of
Aemir. This actually, I tell you what, this is where the balance issue comes off, isn't it, for legacy miniatures? Because
exactly.
The thing we forget, I think, when we're talking about balance, is it's not just about the model itself. It's about gaps it fills in a list. And a model itself could be. I remember, I think in one of the editions of 40K, that the Eldar Wraith Knight was almost identical in profile to the Imperial Knight, but it was like 100 points more. It was a lot more expensive. And I remember it being like, oh, that's so stupid. Like, that's ridiculous, because I play Eldar and I was bitchy and salty about it. And then, of course, I kind of thought about it. It's like, well, that's the whole point, isn't it? Because it fills a much more important gap in one list than it does in the other list. And they've obviously had to think about how it interacts with the models and not just what the stat line is. And that's, I think, the problem that you're going to have with trying to rebalance the game around legacy models that aren't going to be rebalanced. It's the fact that if you've got an underperforming list or an overperforming list and you reduce the points in of certain miniatures, then you might all of a sudden create an opportunity for a legacy miniature to come in and fill a gap that otherwise didn't exist. Let's take Riders of Aemir. Let's say Aemir is performing really well, and so people don't take the legacy miniatures, and then all of a sudden Games Workshop rebalances the points and makes Aemir really much more expensive, and Erkenbrand fills a similar role, and people are like, well, I'll start taking the list with Erkenbrand instead. Are you then going to get complaints to TO saying you shouldn't allow legacy miniatures because all of a sudden Erkenbrand, who's a legacy miniature and hasn't been rebalanced, is the cheapest thing available to fill that role in a Riders of Aemir list?
I think this is going to be the thing that all these people saying it'll be fine. I'll use legacy miniatures until I die. When those issues start cropping up, and and Erkenbrand might be a more forgivable thing, but when it's Vrasku with his Uruk-hai crossbow and whatever, I assume that he won't keep the 2 shots, or who knows. Up until now, Vrasku's been an incredibly popular profile because he's really good in the game.
Good. Yeah,
he's so good, like one of the best Uruk-hai heroes. And if you say, oh, Vrasku can be in the Helm's Deep army list, or he can be in the Lurt Scouts list, or whatever, and then suddenly people are saying, well, hold on, this list is really, really good. But then it's like busted when you've got Vrasku in for some, I don't know, whatever.
Even if Vrasku himself is quite underpowered. I mean, that's a really good point, and I think it's a really good example, because you and I were talking on Facebook earlier about miniatures, equipment options being removed from miniatures where they never modeled a model with that equipment option.
Yeah.
And I mentioned, well, does that mean we're going to lose Uruk-hai captains with crossbows? Because at the moment you can equip a current Uruk-hai captain with crossbow, which makes a lot of sense if you're going to take a warband of crossbow-toting Uruk-hai.
Sure.
But of course, if then the only way you could possibly make that warband work in a similar way is by taking Vrasku, even though he's Legends, even if he has been underpowered in order to make him inoffensive to tournament organizers, he might still fill a niche that's extremely attractive.
Yeah, this is where it all starts unraveling, isn't it? And people might be more forgiving of Erkenbrand because he's from the book, or Gildor, or whatever, because they're not great profiles. But when it starts being something similar to an like Spider Queen or whatever, then it might be a bit more. I don't know whether I like this idea of legacy miniatures being included. So, which I think would be a legitimate concern and frustration. Intriguing. Let's see what else people are talking about. Lawforge, who's got a picture of what appears to be a dwarf king, very nice picture, although it's I think a 3D print, very nice. Maybe with the removal of these kits and miniatures, we will get models for existing profiles yet to receive one, e.g. Wardrake, Catapult Troll, Azog's Signal Tower. I touched on the Catapult Troll and Azog's Signal Tower earlier. I mean, if I were Games Workshop, they'd be pretty low down the list of things to create. But it is surprising that they've left the profile there. So maybe it increases the hope that from what I would have said as a 1 out of 10 chance of it happening anytime soon a few weeks ago, to now being definitely more than 1 out of 10 chance of happening soon. But like Wardrake, Beachbone, they're both models that haven't been given a profile recently. They didn't mention changing Beachbone's name, so maybe these are plausible things. But they usually do these.
If we get a Beachbone, if we get more Ents, I will retract anything negative I've said about all this. I would trade 100 Gildors for a Beachbone. Sorry, Gildor.
I want a sort of the Ent from Rings of Power, which is voiced by Jim Broadbent, with the light and the female Ent. Oh, it's brilliant! It's brilliant. It's great, and there's a female Ent as well, which is wonderful.
I know that John's in chat now because I saw him comment.
Oh, is he? Oh, I haven't got that yet.
I feel the need to channel him and derail this entire stream to just talk about Rings of Power for the next hour.
Are you just going to say it's shit and then move on
over and over and over again, and watch your face get redder and redder?
Well, there you go. Anyway, I'll move on. But I think you're right, Lawforge. There's a chance. I think the chance has definitely increased. Unfortunately, looser models, but still hype for the new edition and support to come. Brandon Ridge, GW Shill there in the chat. I'm joking, Brandon. I'm actually very excited about the new models. Are you excited, Alex? Does this dampen your enthusiasm for the new movie and stuff?
No,
yes. That exhalation implied yes to me.
It's interesting. No, because what I was going to say is in a way it's made me more excited, but in a way that I feel falls right into Games Workshop's filthy, dirty, grubby trap, because they're like, it's like what they've done is they've taken away the shiny toys, but dangle the prospect of more shiny. Not. I mean, there are some shiny toys we know are coming, but nowhere near commensurate to the number lost. But they're like, oh, but you don't know what we're making room for, do you? Or it could be nothing, or it could be really good. So I'm like, hey, even though I know that's what they want.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, for example, for me, one of the things we mentioned we haven't really touched on much is the stuff that's being removed, like the Misty Mountain stuff, the goblins and the dwarves on the list. So if I just so I get them on the screen, in particular the thing I found intriguing was the renaming of Moria to Misty Mountains. So that to me, I don't know whether that's whether I'm reading too much into it.
Renaming, I think it's because faction names presumably aren't going to really be a thing anymore.
Maybe not. Because, maybe not. That's true.
Because they're no longer army list building is no longer orientated around factions as we've understood them before. It's now orientated around scenes.
Yes, that's true. Okay, that's a good point. Yeah. So, but what I sort of wondered, the Misty Mountains getting such a culling, and the Dwarven Holds getting such a culling. Are these the sorts of things that they might revisit in the future? Who knows? But those are the sorts of things
I don't think we'll ever see the likes of. And I'm stupidly sad about Groblog.
Yeah, I love Groblog. Yeah, he is a real tragedy.
I have no feelings one way or the other towards Groblog. It's only because of the list my friends took to that tournament to Seven Stones. Groblog company, which was just Sauron, the Balrog, and Groblog. that was the entire list, and Groblog was the leader somehow.
Groblog's company. Yes, that was funny.
Yeah.
I think Groblog. There's just some of the GW inventions are crap, and that's fine. But some of the inventions have really kind of cemented themselves in my brain as being a definite Lord of the Rings thing. And Groblog with his like fake hat. That he's kind of cobbled together out of bits of metal, being his crown, is just such a comedic idea, and I do think it's sad that that's going. But
I tell you what's interesting is just to play devil's advocate for a moment. It took me a very long time to get into MESBGs, and part of it, I must admit, I remember seeing games like maybe going to watching a battle report online. And they'd mention things like Groblog and stuff, and I'd be like, "What the fuck what is this?" As a novice, as an outsider looking in, you exactly as one of your commenters, I can't remember who it was, mentioned earlier. They want to spotlight the main characters.
Yeah, I think it was.
Like, I came to see Gandalf hit some Uruk-hai on the slopes of Helm's Deep, etc., etc. I don't want Groblog or the Dragon Emperor, although he survived, or all this weird janky shit. But the problem is, that's fine. But treating your players like not the customer, but like an advert. I do genuinely think there's only so many times you can play the game of Aemir and Gandalf storming the slopes toward Helm's Deep, and it still be interesting. And the thing about Games Workshop having the freedom to branch out and make weird, janky characters. Yes, they might be slightly off-putting to newbies, but once they're in, they realize we need those. Otherwise, the game's going to become really stale really quickly.
Yeah, I guess the problem is when those new characters that Games Workshop's just invented start replacing the iconic Lord of the Rings characters like the Balrog, for example, or I don't know. I can't think of another Moria thing that's iconic because there isn't anything other than the Balrog and the cave.
That's it, though. That's the thing. There's so few.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess where I would start is going, well, okay, obviously, there's probably other reasons for the whole legacy thing, but I would start by going, right, okay, what do people associate with goblins and Moria and that army? You go, well, okay, the Balrog, hordes of goblins, and the drums, and cave trolls. Why don't you make those four things like really good and important to the army so that people actually want to use them? You can introduce a Groblog as well, but it's the scale creep thing, or the sort of what do you call it, competitive creep or whatever they call it. Yeah, power creep. That's it.
But
just because then otherwise, well, why would we introduce a Groblog if it wasn't good? So then you introduce a Groblog and it's really good, so people then go, well, I'm going to buy a Groblog instead of the cave troll. But
it depends. It depends whether you want a game for the players, or whether you want a game to that is designed to create. Are you looking to retain the players you've got, or get new ones?
I guess so far they've been working on keeping the players they've got. I guess maybe the game was in a different place, so maybe now that there's a potential for a horde of new people joining, those people are more likely to be interested in the traditional profiles and stuff from the War of the Rohirrim than they are in Groblog. But until now, they've been like, well, look, we've got a load of people who are really active, and we want to make them buy new stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I must admit, I would never. I don't. Like I said, I'm not actually interested even remotely in Groblog. So I would never have bought him. But
I bought him. He's really cool. He's got a great hat. I love it. Okay, I'll move on. So, as much as I'm devastated to lose Far Harad, says Tom, Rogue Dice, Can, Dunland, and Serpent Horde models, until I see the legacy rules, I'm still quite happy they can be run in the next edition. I mean, yeah, we will still be able to use them in some way, shape, or form. But as we said, it's like a ticker, a ticking time bomb, isn't it? And maybe they'll just the thing. What I don't understand is why they could have just nerfed these things out of existence, like they did with the Feral Urukais. You just nerf the profile so badly that nobody even wants to play with it. Like, do that and then do this. But instead, they've gone from being really quirky, fun things like the Golden King and Abrakan Guard and all that sort of stuff, and then they've or chariots or whatever. But they made chariots a lot better in this edition. Before
in defense of Games Workshop, I'd much rather that they sent stuff to Legacy, whatever it is, than sort of shadow banned them to adopt the right wing mantra.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, yeah, we can still run them, as you say, but I'm still sad. If you can send a link to me, I'll be able to get it on. Lol. Okay. I've got that on my wall behind me, says someone. Is it this map? That's a cool map, or is it that? Either way, they're cool. I responded, Alex. It was me. There we go. Oh God, I really am far behind.
Yeah, mate.
Right.
I think this conversation perhaps is so triggering for people. Maybe we can't read every single comment.
Maybe not. Amon Soul Terrain is also a last chance to buy, says Julian Hammond. How many comments have I got? Oh my God, there are loads.
Lots and lots.
There we go.
People have chat with each other. We don't.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm just gonna. Well, let's talk about some of the other things that. So we said we were going to be talking about confusing omissions. So I think we touched on this. We haven't really gotten to most disappointing yet, have we? Should we do most disappointing then? Have you got your?
Yeah.
Let's quickly bash through our most disappointing things and why. I'll kick us off with that. So if you haven't already, drop your comments about which single legacy miniature are you most disappointed to not be able to pick up or be able to use in the game in the current way, I guess. I mean, I know, as people have said, we're still going to use them, but what are you most disappointed about being a model you can no longer pick up? And I kind of started already with these, and that is the Golden King of Abrakan, which is here. I literally bought it, I don't know, not even that long ago. And that was really sad and annoying, although I can still use it. The Abrakan Guard that go with it, because I love the quirkiness of that, and also the Great Beast. Because the Great Beast, it feels like it is very much from the films, even though there is no Great Beast with a howdah in the movies. Those animals, or whatever the hell they are, the sort of rhino things, they are there. They're Pulgrond. We see them. That's really cool. And the idea of going, well, obviously we can't have Grond because there's no purpose for an enormous battering ram in the game. It would be ridiculous. So let's turn that into something a bit similar. Use the same designs. Bish bash bosh. You have a Great Beast of Gorgoroth, and it's not like it's overpowered or anything. But
it's a really cool. It's a good looking model. Really good looking model. In some ways, it's cleaner and nicer than the Mummock. Yeah, but it's also smaller. It's one of only two two profiles that use this whole great swathe of rules about how war beasts work and stuff.
Yeah,
in the rulebook, and you only get basically the Great Beast and the Mummock, and then we've lost 50%.
Well, yeah, but you're going to keep the rules for the Mummock, so why not keep the Beast?
Exactly.
If you're going to.
I said it's a good looking model. I must admit, I don't think I've ever seen it on the tabletop, which is a shame. But
I know Nathan Talbot, a big patron supporter of Entmu. He's a good lad, a local fella. Play him a lot. He's a lovely fella. He has 3, and he loves running multiple Great Beasts just because of the LOL. And it is LOL worthy, and I think that's why I was excited to use it, because if the game was in a holding pattern for the next couple of years, which it looked like. For the last year, it certainly has been. I was going to do that at some point. Maybe not all the Great Beasts, but at least a Great Beast and a Golden King. And now I feel like it's back. It's got revitalized. There's new stuff on the way.
So I will never do that now. But now it's been removed from or put into Legacy, I'll definitely never be able to do it. Or well, I might still do it. I don't know, but who knows? It's just feels a shame. But anyway, those are the ones that I'm actually properly disappointed by. The other things were canned because I have such a massive chariot army. I've got, I mean, I don't know where I put it, but I've got a dozen maybe chariots. I've got 2 kings, 7 or 8 chariots, and a load of horsemen as well. And I bought a load more horsemen, which, yeah. So these aren't cheap models. So I'm really sad about that. And I also really like the fact that they brought life to I think both Harad, the Candish areas, and Far Harad. I thought these ideas they feel very much of the world of Tolkien, even if they were GW inventions. As I said before, Matt Ward, who I've done the interview with on the channel, he talks quite glowingly about how happy he was to be able to delve into these worlds and bring some real life to them. And his whole thing was Tolkien, as we've sort of alluded to, didn't really give a lot of depth to Harad, and didn't really give these sort of, they were basically mysterious people from the east and the south, and we don't like them because they're evil and a different color to me and all this sort of stuff. So basically, and he added real Matt Ward added real nuance to those worlds, and I fell in love with them. And I feel like that's kind of all being slowly rubbed out now, which is I think is a real shame.
It's being what? Sorry,
rubbed out.
Slowly rubbed out.
Rubbing one out, yeah, just rubbing one out.
Really,
you're rubbing the Harad out, so you're rubbing that one out. Then you're rubbing the Canned out. You rub that one out, and then you rub another one out later on with the Far Harad.
It's a shame. Sad times.
Slowly rubbing one out at a time. But yeah, anyway, those are, and I mentioned already Gildor. I'm really disappointed by him because he feels like an actual character that I've loved. I've painted up for this channel, and I like it. And Kyrian is the other one, which is again another character that a GW invention. So I'd imagine there won't be loads of fans, but he came out with the I think it was the War of the East. Wait, Shadow in the East. That's it. The Shadow in the East book alongside Murin and Dra, and it was like it's just this really nice idea that they was named after a king of old, and he was like a young, impetuous guy who sort of attacks the Easterlings and all this sort of stuff. I feel those things. I'm just sad that they will no longer. Maybe it's because those armies are all ones that I was planning on using again. Kyrian in particular, I wanted to bring him back into circulation with the Murin and Dra list and the Golden King and some of those things. So yeah, those things are really disappointing for me. But anyway, those are my 5.
Yeah, I guess you don't know what you've got till it's gone, I guess. But
yeah, well, that's the thing. I mean, and I can still use those armies, but yeah, it just feels like there's going to be fewer chances too, and there's a lot of other exciting stuff on the way. So, it's the kind of the what could have been kind of almost the romance that never was.
Not to oversell it at all, but I don't think any of mine are going to be surprises. I mean, we've talked about them, to be honest, already, so I could just sort of blitz through them.
Yeah, but that's why I did mine.
Yeah, number 1 is definitely Dunland. It's the army I was going to get next.
Oh, was it? Oh,
I wanted to. I really like the idea of having an army that could stand on its own and that I could use on its own, but that I could also mix in with my Isengard, particularly given it's always a nice way to start to build an army so that you're not stuck halfway through this big painting project, without being able to actually get the miniatures on the tabletop, and then slowly I'd get to the point where I had the
you could just drop a Gorolf in with a few Wildmen or whatever, and then whatever. Yeah, I totally agree.
Now, I was even particularly, I think what was particularly cruel about this is that exact point. They released these gorgeous new sculpts for Wildmen, and I was like, fantastic, because they weren't that amazing before. But now Dunland's got this beautiful range. I can have Gorolf, I can have the Oathmaker, I have Freda. I mean, I really like Thryden's obviously older than those, but still a really nice model.
And the Huskarls and and the Horsemen, they're all really lovely Forge World miniatures.
Really beautiful.
Expensive, but yeah.
But yeah, I mean, just at least getting some mileage back out of them, they're just really fantastic sculpts. And then you supplement them with the new plastic Wildmen as well. And it just seemed an absolute perfect fit for me. I was really genuinely very excited about it. But I guess I'm counting my stars because I didn't pull the trigger. before. I mean, I you know, there was a few times I was tempted to, but if I had, I would have been a lot more sad. And I feel for people who have been posting comments saying, well, they've just bought these just bought these miniatures, or they've just finished painting an army, or even worse, stuck halfway through painting an army. Because I think in a way that's worse, because if you painted it, you could be like, well, I'm still playing Legends. If I was halfway through painting my Dunland army when this happened, I'd be like, well, I've just got absolutely no motivation to do this anymore.
Yeah, and I know Darren Dickinson, who's a patron supporter, who's basically been working for a very long time on his what they called, I've just forgotten the name, his Dunland army, and I feel so bad for him, because they're beautifully painted. I think he just won a most painted award somewhere as well. So like he'd done a cracking job with these guys, and then basically, like, he's finished them, used them once, won a painting award, and then now they're like completely binned, and or not completely binned. I think the one thing that you can look at as a silver cloud here is that you can probably safely bet that there's going to be more Dunland style stuff very soon. I'd imagine that there might be, for example, some Dunland cavalry or something similar. So
bloody well hope so.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a fairly safe bet, but I mean, we don't know, but it feels like you'd think so, surely.
Or
but
Traitor Rohan, whatever that means.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So those
fingers crossed.
Right at the top. I was really disappointed to see Vasco go, but I don't blame them. He's a Gildor invention. I quite like him, but at the same time, I'm not married to him. You're
not. Thank God you're not married. Yeah, go on. Yeah.
That engagement fell apart. The Warg Marauder, I was really disappointed to lose.
Really?
Yeah. It's brilliantly goofy.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's I'm genuinely surprised by that, because maybe it's because I've been playing the sort of the competitive, or playing at tournaments and stuff for quite a bit longer than you, and I've played against Warg Marauders, and they're pretty annoying models, and they just don't fit. I mean, they're goofy, I get that, and they are funny, but I wouldn't ever really. I'm not disappointed that they're going as well, but
no, really,
no, not really.
No, I think I lament it when the more interesting models go, and they're certainly more interesting.
Yeah, that is a quirky profile.
Rules, I completely agree that their rules could have done with changing. They were frustrating. So I played Hayden. He had a pair of them, and it's like they're a bit of a faff, but that's not a reason to sort of bin him entirely. And I think that they could still be one of the more interesting profiles in the game.
True.
I was really disappointed to see Canned go. It's weird. It's one of those armies I don't know. I probably wouldn't ever have got. But I certainly enjoyed seeing them on the tabletop. I enjoyed playing against them.
I was going to say, I think they're one of the great. There are great opportunities for people to have real creative painting color schemes. So I mean, mine, for example, I'm certainly not an amazing painter, but I'm really happy with the way that I've done them, because they're kind of done in heraldry style. So we've got like a chieftain who is black and yellow stripes, or black with yellow and different fatigues, and then then he's got some riders that go with him who are black and yellow, and then I've got the red one, and then I've got a blue one, and then I've got a turquoise one, I've got a purple one, all leading like little. So it's like I love that kind of. It's almost, to me, they're kind of the closest that you can get to knights, and they're kind of people heading off to the Crusades or whatever, and it kind of in reverse, which I've always really liked that, and I loved getting them on the table. And this sort of the quick, like you say, so losing anything with quirky rules is always a bit sad, but
yeah. And then finally, I think just last thing I'll say is I personally am disappointed that Wormtongue's lost his horse. Well, just because.
Did you buy that? Did you buy that miniature? Was it a third party miniature with?
I did. Yeah.
That's why. Just so we could keep up the cap.
When you're playing, if you're playing a themey game, and you want, I mean, I suppose there aren't many themey games that actually should feature Saruman and Grima, but I always find it a bit weird if Grima's walking and Saruman's on a horse.
Yeah.
It's quite. I genuinely think they look quite cool mounted side by side. I'm not, to be honest, I'm not massively bothered. My main frustration is my friend Graham converted a Grima, on horse, and it's the most fantastic conversion, the most fantastically slapdash conversion you'll ever see in your life. And somehow, because of all the green stuff, Green ended up being like sort of like 8 foot tall.
I love that.
Towering over Saruman.
I've seen some fun ones where you've got this insane long cloak to cover up the mess of the drawing, where which is quite good. It's sad to I can understand people's personal disappointment for those. So and it does feel weird. But I think when they released the plastic kit of Saruman foot and mounted plus Grima, it felt like, why didn't you put him on a horse? And it's like, well, okay, that maybe they knew that this was going to happen at some point down the line. So who knows? But still, they are sad. I'll give you that. I'm going to just pick a few random comments. I'm so sad about them getting rid of most of the Far Harad stuff. Yeah, we haven't mentioned camels. Again, camels and chariots, unusual rules. Just interesting the way they interact with the game. And they're very powerful and very hard. Like those camel kings are pretty harsh, but still.
The rules are changing. They could. Anyone. I've always found it quite weird in the commentary whenever anyone said, "Oh, those were too powerful. They've got to go." It's like, we change the rules then. Don't bin the models. Like
exactly. Yeah, I agree. The community have an agency in determining the meaning of legacy. The old world example really shows the difference in attitude between that and 40k, where it is somewhat a euphemism for retired. Yeah, I think the only difference there, like, because comparing old world with 40k, it's apples and oranges, isn't it? Because 40k gets like new stuff every month or maybe even more frequently, whereas old world and Lord of the Rings by extension they've slower release schedules, so therefore I think the legacy stuff will last longer.
It was also the case, I think it's a bit different, because what people need to remember about the old world is that the community had taken ownership of it after fantasy went down. You had the ninth age rule set. And so people were playing their armies regularly anyway. So I think they were like, well, fuck, you can, if you think you're going to tell us to stop doing that now, then you've got another thing coming, kind of thing. Whereas in 40, he's gone. Okay, it's my podcast now, I'm afraid. But I have no control. I can't get rid of Farm to Tabletop's comment there because it's still, he's back. Oh,
sorry. Every time
for a moment I was king. I was king of the end moot.
The mouse in a certain way, it gets rid of the screen for some stupid reason. But anyway, so I think that's a good point. Will old legacy models at discounted go up or down, or discontinued? I think you mean go up or down in value over the long-term future, do we think? I think that's a really interesting question, because I think it depends massively on the model. I think something like Gildor, I don't know. I kind of think that will go up in value, because it's the sort of thing that most completists probably what a completist for a range of stuff that is from a book or film, I'd have guessed. So maybe you'll see people wanting that down the line. It depends how rare they are already. If there's thousands of Spider Queens out there, are people really that bothered about getting a Spider Queen because the model's not that great? But it's just Spider. It's just I really, really don't know. It's hard to know. It's hard to know, isn't it? I suspect some stuff will go up in value quite a lot. Like the weird characterful things, like maybe the Great Beast, that'll be worth something. I don't know, because they're pretty cool, unique models. What do you think?
I think we're overestimating the amount of demand once people stop playing these models in the game. I don't think they're going to be.
I don't know. It depends on the person, doesn't it? Because I've gone back and bought. When the game would look like it was going to die and all that sort of stuff, I went back and bought a load of niche models that I still have in boxes. And I've recently bought books that are no longer in circulation. Like the Shadow and the East.
You pay over the odds for them.
Depends on your scale. Like, I think I paid 35 or something quid for one of the old books, like a supplement book, which it was probably 10 quid when it was out, when it was released. But
okay, well, fair enough, yeah.
So maybe, but I mean, compare that with the Rise of Angmar, which has just come out, and that's 35 quid, so or whatever it was. So interesting. J-Max Armies of Ardor says Bellends. Nice.
I like the fact that I think that's the sum total of his contribution.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Eric Schultz is in. Welcome. G-Dubs just had to do this. Paul, he says Cantus Tropus. Who else? Let's see. Catching up and pausing. One note about underpower. I found it hilarious when VC were winning events in Old World earlier this year. I'm not sure what VC are.
Vampire counts.
Yes, there you go. Michael Haskell says the ones that are sad to go are Gildor, Arrestor, Erkenbrand, Grimbold, and the Great Beast. I think
It's hard. It's hard to argue with any of those. Arrestor, the one I'm least bothered by, but yeah, I agree. Jack, do Black Nuns get the horse tax that Arno has, so can be only fielded mounted? No, they're going to exist because they're not on the Legacy, so they're going to happen. Luke Gibbs has super chatted. Oh, thanks, Luke. Thanks for the 190. I'll get a beverage with that one. Cheers. What else we got? Surely GW isn't going to expect people to buy new plastic troops at $12 a model like Khan Dum to build an army and expect this game to grow or capitalize on excitement surrounding movie? I don't know. I think they probably will because Khan Dum sold out pretty quickly. I was quite annoyed. I wanted to buy some, but I don't know. It like we said earlier, it depends on your ability to able to afford these things, I guess. Will legacy models be nerfed? They're still getting new profiles. I think it's almost certain they will be. Like you said earlier, don't you think? It's unlikely they're going to make them really overpowered, right?
I think this is whoever said it was funny about. Was it Sean who said I found it funny?
The vampire counts, yeah.
So I think I think this came up during this conversation. I think the point there was that they're a Legends army. They're not part of the core army, the core book, and yet they were super OP. So I think his point is that maybe they will be really powerful. But I think that was an accident. I don't think that's what they want. I think they want to err on the side of caution, and I would do the same. I think that's a good thing for the game. If you're going to put something to Legends, I would rather it be slightly underpowered, but you can continue to play it.
I think Luke Gibbs accidentally super chatted, so I'm so sorry, Luke. I don't know how to refund you. If it's possible, I'll look into refunding you if that's what you want. Or maybe you wanted to super chat in order for your comment to be put up high. I will read your comment. Don't worry, Luke, if that's the reason. But otherwise, because you just said, "Damn it, I was a message with that super chat." So yeah, you can if you super chat you can. I will read them definitely. But
I find that very the idea.
I feel really bad. It's like, oh crap! I didn't mean to send you £2.
Right. That's a dangerous question as well. If you get paid this time, you'll expect to get paid next time.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry, Luke. If that's the intention, I will read whatever comment you put up. Don't we? What other stuff have we got? How can you say there aren't any iconic Moria villains? Lest we forget the falling staircase. Very good. Again, I literally bought the last ever Arrestor. There you go. Someone's bought the Isengard Battle House today, but still fuck GW. All right, okay. It's like I've just given them loads of money, but fuck them.
Yeah.
Great Beasts and Camels for one person. Pour one out for Shagrat with his shield. That's an unusual one, isn't it? The best shield, says Frederick. I kind of don't care even slightly. The only thing that annoys me a little bit about that is I converted my because I didn't like the Shagrat Wally model. I think it was a bit sort of clunky looking. But I did convert one of my Shagrats with the little mithril coat to have a shield. So, but I'm not bothered. Shagrat was never a beefy character in the movie. He struggles to beat up an orc. And then falls down a hole, rolls down a thing, and then grabs a mithril shirt. He's pretty crap, really. So,
hey, he basically starts a civil war. What's
that dude tried to knife me? Kill him! that guy. Yeah.
Yeah. But although I always think that because it's Shagrat. What's the other one called?
Gorbag.
It feels like Gorbag should be the Uruk and Shagrat should be the Orc.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they got the characters slightly mixed up, didn't they? Because the Urukai gets kicked down and rolls. Wait, is that right? Is he rolled down the ladder? Yeah, I'm sure he does.
No, I can't remember. It's the Orc that gets kicked down the ladder, right?
Yeah, but the Orc comes back and gets stabbed by Sam.
He does, yeah. That's true.
So it must be Shagrat falling down the ladder. Although maybe not. Maybe
no, it's the Orc because it climbs back up, but because it's the Uruk that shouts. But I just think name-wise, I think Gorbag is a more Uruk-y name, and Shagrat feels like a more Orc-y name.
Yeah. I agree. But anyway,
it couldn't matter less.
This is. I mean, we've already got a lot of comments to get through. Gollum's Gamers is in. Just joined, and my missus looked over at me with a strange look as she heard two men repeatedly saying "rubbing one out." What's going on, chaps? Just the usual. Mrs. Shilling-Law, don't worry about us. We only start rubbing one out at the 2 hour mark. But greetings, Elliot.
That's in 10 minutes.
Yeah. Are we going to get a Gollum's Gamers take on Tuesday's news? Says Michael Haskell. Who knows? I'm sure. Watch this space, Michael. There we go. Zagdush. That's what Sean Clark said. I wanted him as an Orc captain for my Khan Dum. Just happy I got a great beast before it went. Yeah, I think the model Zagdush
it'd be nice. It was a shame that they couldn't just say these are great Forge World miniatures. You can use them as something else now.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah, rebrand as Orc Captains.
Aaron Smart's devastated by Balin the King's Champion. They're mainstays and seem way too iconic in Lord of the Rings to drop. I mean, the King's Champion isn't really a Lord of the Rings character, but it's a cool model, cool profile.
I don't know what it is. I can't.
He's the come at me bro axe guy. So he's got 2 axes like this, and he's got 2 banners with him, and he's got like a big quiff. He's pretty cool. And he's hard as nails in the game because you like put him base to base with the banners and you get defense 9.
That's a really lovely set, actually.
Yeah, I quite like that one. But
I love the 2 banners with the shields as well. They're really cool.
Yeah, they are cool. And that came close to my sad to lose kind of.
Yeah, that's it looks like an older model.
Yeah, I think it's the one I've got is Finecast, so it can't be that old. But
well, it could have been metal.
It could have been. Maybe again, there are quite a lot of models that were formerly metal that changed to Finecast that are being deleted. So who knows? Maybe that's part of my thing there. We're almost at the comments. Sad to see cool looking Skull Apes, Dunlending, Erkenbrand, Floyd, King's Champion, some of the Nazgul. Oh, we haven't mentioned the Nazgul. Yeah, the sort of 9 named Ring Wraith are pretty much all going, aren't they? Except the Witch King. So you got
I'm not bothered at all.
Yeah. I like the models. I think some of the models are cool. Like not all of them, but some of them are really cool.
I hate them. I always
really all of them.
I really don't like them at all. The unique Ring Wraiths, I think they look better as these nameless uniform black clad wraiths. You've just been mega thumbs, whatever it is.
Mega thumbed.
I was going to say fisted then.
Mega fisted.
You've been mega fisted
after repeatedly rubbing one out earlier. I've now.
Is that Krona? Let's have a look.
Let's have a look. Oh yeah. Oh hello, DKK. That's Dutch Krona, isn't it? Yeah. Is it Dutch? No, Danish. Because Dutch would be.
You see the problem is because the exchange rate. 50 sounds like it's massive. It's £5.66, which is still great.
Hold on a second. Don't you be dismissing iWing's lovely donation to the scheme? I'm happy for their 50 krona. I think it is krona. Dutch krona, is it? Is that what it is? No, not Danish krona. Sorry. Anyway, thank you so much, iWing. And this is on purpose, they said. It's not an accident. Rohan lost a lot, but will gain a lot. We can only hope Harad will be equally blessed in time. Justice for the Abrakan. Yeah, I'm totally in agreement with that. I really, really hope that the stuff that they're culling, they revisit some of it in the future. Like so for example, the Men at Arms of Dol Amroth and stuff like that. It would be nice to see that the revisit stuff that they're now culling. But Dwarves, Moria, we've touched on quite a lot of it. I think the Candish and the Far Harad are probably unlikely to be revisited anytime soon. But things Harad.
But certainly things like Gildor. We keep coming back to Gildor.
Yeah, Gildor. Why is it they were so bothered by Gildor? But
because he's in the books. It
is a tragedy, and it's a nice model. Maybe it's because we both painted one.
Yeah, mine's just over there. Mine went toe to toe with it was assassination. He was my assassin. Gildor was my assassin, and my target was Gorolf. Obviously, not a particularly great matchup. But he managed to absolutely trash him. He waded through I don't know. He got through 4 or 5 Dunlendings before he got to Gorolf. Yeah, there he is. I'll get mine.
He's actually on the front of my cabinet. I didn't realise he's literally pride of place in front of the front of my What was that?
Just a fork.
Oh God, I was worried that was a legacy miniature that's now gone completely kaput.
I have just dropped 3 or 4, but there you go. There's.
Oh, that's lovely. See that yours has got like a dark green cloak. I've gone with a sort of bluey grey of the cloak. So you've got the green.
It's very nice.
But yeah, I actually genuinely do think that this is a really nice model. Not my one particularly. I mean, actually, if you genuinely want to see that in close up, there's a video on the channel where I paint it. But yeah, it is a shame. It is a shame.
Should we? Oh, sorry.
No, go on. You were going to say something.
Is it worth mentioning a few things that we're glad survived? That maybe.
Yeah. Okay, that's yes. Well, I actually I am glad that the Woes survived. I wasn't expecting them to survive. I not because I think it just because I like them in the books and I've used the army. I really like, and I've got a nice squad of them painted, so that's really nice. I'm glad. You know what? I don't think I even thought of stuff that I'm glad survived, because there's so much that's gone, and it's hard to feel joy.
I came out, yeah. Well, I came out. I agree completely. Actually, that's interesting. It's almost like you get survivor's guilt, because I came out almost entirely unscathed. So I've lost my Vrasku. That's sad.
Sure.
I've lost my mounted Grima. I've lost my Uruk-hai captain with crossbow. I've lost things that I was going to get, but not really anything that I already had. Most things that I've got, and my favorite faction has always been Rohan. It's what I enjoy playing the most. It's probably what I play the most. And they not only haven't lost much, lost Erkenbrand, who I was never going to buy anyway because the model is just utter trash. And they did lose what's his face, Grimbold, who I am actually sad about. That is a bit disappointing, and I do have Grimbold.
Yeah, that's a shame.
But they're trading up. They've got so much stuff coming.
Yes.
Really
I think you're uniquely positioned in the sense that your armies are very much a focus in the new era, aren't they? So anything that you have lost will almost certainly be repaid with plastic and really nice miniatures. So I think that's
so. I'm like quids in.
Basically.
I feel bad for you suckers. That's
well, yeah. You know what? I would start looking through, but yeah, people in the chat, and let me know. Let everyone know what are the things that you were really glad that they kept that you thought could be culled. Because there's stuff in there that could have been culled. I mean, I'm part. Yeah, I think they killed so much stuff that I don't think there's anything that I was thinking was going to die and didn't. I'm just looking at my cabinet. That's why I'm looking at it in a weird way.
I thought the Rivendell twins would go.
Oh yeah, Lad and Nell here. Yeah, again, they're not in the movies.
No,
it's a surprising one. They're quite. Not that I'm not desperately bothered. I'm glad that they kept some.
I don't know which one it is. Who's basically taking a shit? His model. It is one of the worst models in the game. It's appalling.
Oh, the models are crap. Yeah, I don't know why they've still got them, but yeah, I guess if you play them, that you'd be happy with them. I don't think there's anything that I was expecting to go that didn't go. I guess, you know what? Actually, I tell a lie. One of the things that I'm really glad they didn't cull completely are the hobbits. There's quite a lot of, when you look at the hobbit range, there's so many hobbit heroes. Your Fatty Bolgers, your the Farmer Cotton and Will Whitfoot. All of these miniatures are really genuinely lovely models, especially the new forged ones. And there were a lot of new forged ones. I think there was something like 8 new ones released or something like that. And then you've got the Lobelia and all of these that are really characterful miniatures. And in some ways, I remember speaking to Jay Clare about rules writer Jay Clare about the Scouring of the Shire book. And I said, God, you really squeeze a lot of heroes in there. And he said, yeah, it's a weird one because essentially kind of what happened is there was a gap in the schedule, and they basically wrote a book quickly to try and fill a printing schedule, which was very rare for GW. And he wrote it and put like that. Usually what they do is they create 12 profiles and they get 6 of them made. But this time, he said, well, there was enough room in the schedule, there was enough capacity. We made 12 and they just kept them all. And they managed to make all of these miniatures that they'd made rules for, and they all got released, which is even better because you think, Beachbone never made a miniature. But
that is awesome. But imagine if that scheduling, the stars had aligned for a book that with a potentially more pivotal faction. But that's exactly. True. I thought Sharky and Worm would go.
Yeah, but I can certainly see why they would. But it's weird, isn't it? Because they're characters in the books, but then so many characters in the book have gone that see a lot more play. Arrestor, for example. Very few people use Sharky's Rogues, do they? Like I think I have played 1,000 points of them, and then I've encountered maybe 2 other people who've used armies of Sharky's Rogues, and that's it in my whole time. But yeah. There's some people starting to comment with what we didn't lose. What else? I'm just continuing to look in my cupboard because this is.
Well, Joshua's picked up on my fears. So, Joshua says, "I feared for Lothlorien, Rumil, Orphan, Courtguard, and Sentinels." So, Rumil, Orphan, and Courtguard are all brand new. And if they'd gone, I'd have been absolutely mortified. If they'd gone, I'd be feeling the pain that the Dunland players and the Candish players are feeling at the moment.
Yeah, and I think the thing is, it's hard to think what am I glad survived, because the stuff that I was expecting to go has gone, but loads more has. So I guess now it like the things like the Woses, the Lothlorien stuff you're mentioning now. Now I'm starting to think, God, they might have been close to being killed, those things, but actually,
I mean, Rimmel and Orphin, they are in the lore, aren't they?
They are. Are they both named? I don't know. Maybe they are, but either way, you're right.
I think they are, but very, very fleetingly. I don't know if they're actually in the Lord. I don't think they're named in Lord of the Rings. I think they're named somewhere, but they're not exactly pivotal players, are they?
No, exactly. A lot of Gildor love in the chat. Gildor is awesome. I do love my Gildor model, says one person. Yeah,
Gildor. Justice for Gildor.
Justice for Well, yeah, it's a shame. I think if I could turn back the clock on any one of these, really, Gildor, get him back in there. Philip Deemer says, I'm glad to see Morgul Knights and Black Num Knights stay. Really? Like, are you that much of a fan of those guys? I mean, fair enough. If you like them, great. I mean, the Morgul Knights are cool. The Morgul Knight kit is really cool. The Black Num models were awful. I really hope. I mean, of all, they redid the Guard of the Gladron Court, in Forge World. If anything deserves that treatment, absolutely the Black Nums. They're so crap. They're so crap.
And they show up a lot because they're meta.
Yeah. Maybe they're just planning to nerf them into death, but who knows?
Oh, I would. There is a yeah.
They certainly won't have terror anymore, or something like that. Maybe they'll have terror, but there won't be fight for, or who knows? I think they're definitely going to see a nerfing. But where the hell do you fit them? Like, they're not. Yeah, they're just awful. Michael Haskell's surprised that Moria Dragons and Cave Drakes have made the cut. Yeah, that to be fair, I'd never even thought of them, like, because we lost Dwellers in the Dark, didn't we? But Cave Drakes and Moria Dragons, I mean, you never see them, but they do feel quite Middle-earthy to have dragons and Cave Drakes, and they're big models.
And Moria's got to have something left.
Yeah,
Cave Drakes do look really naff.
Yeah, well, I quite like the Cave Drakes.
Really?
The models, neither of the models are that amazing, but they've got a certain bulky charm to them. Can't believe that Druzag survived. I assume that means more spiders and wargs from Moria. Yeah, I think there's another one.
Sorry, I think it's the dragon, not the Cave Drake.
The dragon's not a great model. The Cave Drake's much more sleek.
Yeah,
and
the Cave Drake's actually quite nice. Yeah,
and actually, there's a good point. There's Moria. Is it Ashrak that survived as well? So we've lost Groblog, but we've got Ashrak and Druzag. Is that right? Let me just have a look, because I can't remember. There's so much that's gone. It's hard to remember. Oh no, Ashrak did go, but Durbers and Druzag are the ones that are being packaged together. And Druzag's an odd choice to keep. I'm really surprised by that one.
Can't picture him.
I think he's the one with like all the bats going up his wazoo.
Now I really can't picture him, but I want to. Yeah. Oh, that's a weird model.
Yeah, it's like,
it's like he's summoning bats from his staff.
Yeah, and it just looks a bit. I mean, to be fair, Ashrak is an ugly model. It's really, unless I've got them the wrong way around. Maybe I have. Ashrak was bitten by a spider, and Druzag's the bats guy. Yeah. So Ashrak is a horrible miniature. It looks ugly, so I'm glad they're getting rid of that. But at least the bat thing is kind of fun.
Look at Ashrak's face.
Yeah, hold on, let me get it up so people know what we're giggling about. Let me get it up so people know what we're giggling about. Love it. So these guys, I am actually now you've bring it up, I am surprised they survived. You Gildor, but then Gildor died, but
Gildor goes. Yeah, that's a fucking travesty.
Yeah, that's a disaster, that. But look at the price of these guys, $18.75 for those two. Aaron Noonan, welcome along. Surprised the Galadriel Stormcaller didn't get called when the Rivendell version did. What? Is that true? That can't be true, can it? It's the same model. They're the same model, aren't they?
Yeah, they're the same model.
They're definitely the same model, aren't they? Let's just check that. Stormcaller.
It's definitely the same model.
Yeah, I thought it was. Oh, there's no way we're going to get Stormcallers. It's probably been expunged from the system. Yeah, sorry, Aaron. I think that I hope you weren't relying on that, because I think I think he's definitely gone. They're the same model. We did not lose the Cave Drake. I don't play Moria, but
if you look, it's just under Elven Kingdoms. It just says Stormcaller.
Yeah, so I think they were both. Yeah, you're right.
I feared for Lothlorien, Orifin. Oh, yeah, we mentioned them. Gullivar still there. Pure BS, says Tim Ellis. Yeah, I'm surprised. Well, I think the proximity with Rise of Angmar has saved Gullivar, frankly, along with perhaps Birder as well. That's the sort of thing that could have been for the chop, but they literally just released a new Birder model and stuff. So I think that's probably saved them. But who knows? Army of Thror, Iron Dale, Iron Hills, Shire, Gladrum, Sharky Roads, Gundabad and Lake Town weren't touched at all. Yeah, I mean, a lot of those are Hobbit era armies, aren't they? But Galadrim we just mentioned has been touched. But yeah, that's interesting. I'm surprised. I think I'm surprised that Braga continues to have a profile in the game, because Braga is the Lake Town captain, which doesn't have a model, which is a bit
Never
weird.
even heard of him.
Yeah, well, exactly. Nobody has. He's not. I'm pretty sure he's a. I can't. I don't think he's a named character in the films or anything. He's just a generic.
He looks. I think he is. He's got a wiki page on the Middle Earth Cinematic Universe wiki.
Wow. Then there, yeah, you go. But yeah, Braga, because there's definitely no model for Braga. But I'm surprised by that one actually. Now we're talking about stuff. I can remember a few that I'm surprised don't exist. But still, that's a cool one. Yeah, interesting. What else we got? Tim says roll on community supported balance updates for all the squatted stuff. I think that's a difficult thing to maintain, though, isn't it? Really that's the problem. It's really who does it, how.
You basically need an authority.
Yeah, which I guess the GBHL committee is kind of.
You try and convince the Australians to.
Yeah, no, I mean, those are the sorts of people that, I mean, there might be an Australian rule set and a American one or whatever, but I just think it starts becoming very messy. And do people? How long is it before people actually lose interest in Gildor when you can't buy the model anymore? Like, I remember when Age of Sigmar came out, and I had a load of they had the dwarf sort of battle sheets or whatever they called them for my fantasy army, and I used my dwarves for a bit, but then they started bringing out the cool dwarves with like fire breathing dragons and stuff like that, and soon you just forget about the old stuff anyway. So maybe people will be like that. I don't know. It depends how passionate you are about Gildor, and it seems that we are here.
We are, yeah. This is the Gildor fan club.
Yeah, we definitely should keep Gildor. Luke Senshin says happy they didn't get rid of cave drakes. Philip says they've been renamed Black Numenorean Knights. The foot models suck. Yes, yeah, the Morgul Knights. Yeah, I quite like those models. The foot models do suck. And I'm taking Erkenbrand, Grimbold, unarmored twins, and Gildor to the next event for the lols. It's a legacy time for you. That's brilliant. J-Max contributed once again. Thanks, J-Max. How confident are you that this is the end of it? Is there more to come? I'm pretty confident this is the end of it.
Yeah.
In terms of, it would be the height of stupidity for them to go, right, okay, we're going to announce half of the legacy models now, and then do another half, because you rip off the
done that with any other system. They've always just, I think it's rip the band-aid off.
Yeah,
get this done.
Yeah, I'm pretty. I'd say 90% sure, but there's always room for maneuver, isn't there? Durbers and Ruzagara survived. Ashrak and Groblog got binned. Interesting, they kept the metal and binned the resin. Interesting that they kept the metal and binned the resin. Maybe there's something in my theory here then, that anything that went to resin, they're just going bin it because it's crap. Maybe it doesn't look that good for you to be able to, because they get so much heat off people for the quality of the resin sculpts, particularly those fine cast ones. Maybe that's part of it. Maybe the molds have deteriorated. Maybe the models are getting so much, like maybe they're having to refund a load of people because they keep getting dodgy bubbles in them and all that sort of stuff. Maybe it's very costly to maintain a poor quality resin thing.
Striden fine cast.
I don't know. I think he might not be. I think I don't know.
Vrasku was certainly.
Vrasku and Malho are definitely both resin.
No, that's not true.
Malho's definitely resin.
Yeah, Malho's resin and Vrasku is metal. I remember commenting on it because you get a metal and a resin miniature.
Yes, you do. Yeah, that's interesting.
So I mean, maybe there's some exceptions to my theory. Intriguing. Aaron Noonan surprised that the Eastlings.
Oh, I see. It's black swan theory. It's like swans are white. There's a black swan. Oh, well, that's not a swan then. You are you've made your theory impervious.
Well, look, Alec, there's a variety of reasons, and one of them could be the quality of the resin sculpt. Who knows?
Sounds like a politician's answer.
Yes, exactly. Also, Eastlings. So Aaron's surprised that the Eastlings survived.
I'm not.
I kind of am in a way because
they're in the films. They're beautiful.
In the films. That one scene where they walk into the Black Gate, and
they are true. But considering that, they became iconic based on that one scene where they're walking through the gate. People, I absolutely loved these things as a child for no good reason whatsoever. Before I knew anything about them in the game, because they looked cool in that bit. They've got plastic, and none of the big plastic, none of the plastic warrior sets have gone, and they've got one of those, and they've got brand new warriors as well, and they fit. War of the Ring. They're in their timeline. They're very prominent. They're much more popular than Canned or Farharad.
I was going to say part of it is probably that they've sold very well in the last couple of years because
if you make a really powerful miniature, then
exactly. You put a lot of money into a Dragon Emperor and it sells well. The Black Dragons have probably sold pretty well. Ratabi and Borgir you see a lot of. Amdur you don't, and Kamul is being culled. Kamul is gone, so
Really?
Yeah, because none of the named Ringwraiths are staying in. So
he's gone. I forgot he wasn't. Yeah.
So, but which is weird again because he is actually named. He's one of the. I'm sure he's the only Ringwraith other than the Witch King who is named. So,
but who cares?
Well, I'd like to say I care, but
I remember looking at the 9. The first time I saw them, looked at the 9 Ringwraiths. So I can't remember who had them all out, and they're all looking really cool, like I remember them from the film. And there was one with a little red scarf on. I was like, "What the fuck's going on there?"
Well, look, you know what? I am a big fan of. I like the fact that they had Kamul. I can't remember whether the Kamul miniature.
The problem is also the more they're meant to be like the most fierce and intimidating. Villains in the whole of the trilogy. They're meant to be absolutely horrifying, and if you like the other one that's named the Witch King of Angmar, it's like, my god, the more you say camel a bit like camel, the less and less intimidating he gets.
Look, it's Kamul, okay?
Who's that camel with his little red scarf? It's like, all right, he seems all right, actually. Seems like the kind of guy I might grab a pint with. So
you know what, I think now I'm looking at Kamul, the actual official model of Kamul. It is pretty rubbish. Like,
it's shocking. Look at that! What a piece of shit.
The mounted one is particularly shite. Like that is really poor.
His little armor mask.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, but people complained endlessly about the get off the road diorama, about the hood being slightly the wrong proportions, and then they get all misty eyed over. My dog has shat out a better Wraith model than that. That is awful, and I'm glad.
I won't defend
it. I'm glad you're sad.
I have converted a whole Ringwraith on Fellbeast for Kamul, and I have to say I am particularly proud of the wings on said Fellbeast because I did it red to fit the Easterlings. They've got veins and that looks really nice. But then, to be fair, that is converted. It's not the actual GW miniature. So there you go. Anyway, maybe the Cull will lead to some profiles without models, such as Runish Drakes getting models. Yeah, that's a good point. Wasn't Lake Town Guard captain model actually based on Braga before we got a profile kind of like Guritz? Maybe. I don't know. Tim will never lose interest in Gildor or Erkenbrand because of books. Druzak was kept to keep Moria competitive so you can use Spiders and Wargs. Yeah, probably. I think we still have Kings of Men. Is that right? I think that we do. They weren't on the list, which is we've got Kings of Men. We've got Dwarven Kings. Again, things that we've seen in the films. Not that they feature in any prominent way other than in that intro sequence. So, yeah,
weird ones. Well, like, sorry to interrupt.
No, I'm just...
Sorry, Harry.
I was just going to speculate as to whether they'll get a decent upgrade in the new edition in terms of actually playable. Like the Dwarf Kings are pretty good, but the Kings of Men you just never see because you literally can't use them with any other named model, which is mad.
Yeah. So this is something that I found odd that I would actually, well, certainly wouldn't have been sad to see go, is the generic shaman. So the Stormcaller went. I'm not bothered about that. I don't think Middle Earth suits having these little warbands running around where each of them, magic isn't meant to be the kind of thing where every 10th Thoric guy can Urukai Shaman it just seems really weird. It seems really weird. Like, can you imagine the film, like halfway through the siege in Helm's Deep, the assault in Helm's Deep, there's some guy like putting up a little force shield with his magic. There's the little Urukai lad with a staff. It's completely bizarre, and it's not very Tolkien at all. And I get why they did it. They're like, well, otherwise we only got like 4 or 5 magic users in the game. I think I'd rather 4 or 5 magic users in the game, to be honest. Than
maybe. It is in some ways. Yeah, I guess I'm surprised that they haven't nerfed them. If they're gonna do that, just culling stuff generally. I mean, this guy, I really like this model. I think it's really cool, but it looks very much like that guy off the Indiana Jones movie. Is it Indiana Jones that I'm thinking of? Maybe not. Either way, it's not. It's the James Bond film Live and Let Die. He looks like that guy. Baron Samedi, I believe his name was. But anyway, I quite like that model. But yeah, who knows? I
think it's quite a shoddy. It's not good, but that's just a difference of opinion, I guess.
I guess so. I wonder if these Hobbit era profiles that don't have models will be part of the first supplement. Also, think Harad will get a refresh with the new named hero. Do you think Erebor heroes will keep mounts? Well, yes. This is a good prompt actually, because we were going to talk in more detail about war gear and horses, because we found some sort of strange inconsistencies earlier, didn't we? When we were talking about what is staying, what is going, all that sort of stuff. Because so they said, I believe they said, anything that doesn't have a option or a model. So if there's a war gear option and there isn't a model, we're going to get rid of that option. So, for example, I think what was the example they gave in the article? So someone with a horse. Was it? Help me out here. Help me.
Wormtongue with a horse.
Yeah, okay, Fabi. Yeah, Wormtongue, fine. So there's some characters once had access, shield, horses, and so on, but we never sold a model with those options, so now they've now been removed. But then there's a real inconsistency here, because you brought up the Rohan command sets.
Horns.
Yeah.
I don't think, and chat, correct us if we're wrong, but I don't think that they've ever made a miniature of a rider of Rohan blowing a horn. I'm not even sure there was a dismounted guy blowing a horn. I don't think they've ever done a Rohan warrior blowing a horn. So are we no longer going to have warriors of Rohan or riders of Rohan with horns? Same with Urukai captains and crossbows. I think there's going to be a lot of captains with bows that you're not going to have anymore.
Okay, with crossbows is true. Yeah, goblin captain with crossbow, those sorts. So with a bow, those sorts of things. Yeah, there's quite a few there. I think it's kind of weird. And then you think, well, there's some obvious ones like Elendil and Gilgalad that we never see with horses. But then equally, you never see Saruman riding a horse, but yet he has a horse model. So it's all a bit. I think there just seems to be an awful lot of inconsistency here, and it seems to be just sort of I don't know what the point of it is. It must be just to stop people going, oh well, there's a Forlong the Fat, for instance. He has a horse option, and you will give them the horse because it's much better in the game.
So I'll just print one.
So I'll just 3D print it, yeah. And I guess that it's like, well, if we remove that option, then
people will buy our Forlong.
People will buy our Forlong, and they won't convert their own, which I did. And yeah, I guess maybe that's the reason. It could be just something simple as that. But it's strange. I mean, so Tom Road Dice says, do you think Erebor heroes will keep mounts? Because it does.
So like Thorin on goat.
Yeah, so Thorin on goat doesn't exist. So but you do see it in the movies.
Yeah.
So do you think they will? I mean, I suspect they probably will lose that option, right?
I think so. I think that's the idea, isn't it?
Yeah. Which is a shame.
I was going to say some of his colleagues. That's not the right word. some of his crewmates have got goats. So it's kind of weird that you take Thorin and he'd have to foot slog it while his brethren are all trotting off up cliff walls and across dams and things.
Yeah. I suspect. I think this is probably one of the least controversial things, but it's clear that they're just trying to clear out the sort of dusty old legacy stuff that has been just a hangover. Because they in many ways we're very lucky and they were very kind in the first sort of revamp of the Middle-earth strategy battle game, that they kept so many profiles that had existed before that really weren't that relevant anymore. Like I think of Corsair Reavers and stuff. Like they just copied and pasted it across and said, look, if you've converted Corsair Reavers, you get to keep them. Isn't that great for you? But now they're like, actually, We shouldn't
yeah.
Like, we just shouldn't have bothered. Like, and I kind of think, although you don't see Corsair Reavers an awful lot, there'll be some people out there who have them, but it just seems, and it kind of makes sense because again, like it's that it all seemed to boil down to the barrier to entry for new players, because ultimately a new person comes in and goes, right, well, I've bought Elendil and Gilgalad and whatever the options are to start the Last Alliance army, and then they realize after they bought the miniatures, oh, actually, it's much better if they put them on a horse. And you go, well, where's the model? And then you think, well, why is there no model? And then it creates that kind of frustration at the game, which is, to be fair, something I've complained about for a long time in the last few years, of just saying, why are they allowing a profile in a book that is just not for sale on the website, or is constantly out of stock? And hopefully that problem that I've perceived for a long time will not be an issue anymore. Fingers crossed.
Well, interesting. So Michael says there is a Rohan model with a horn, and then I don't know whether this one he's referring to, but Joshua Feldman says the Helmingus command, and he's right. I knew I thought once where I had a hornblower. But of course, it's no longer going to be sold. It's
interesting.
So there was a horn, but there will no longer be a horn. But even then, there was never a regular warrior with a horn or a regular captain.
I mean, has that Helmingus horn been in stock ever? Like, I don't know how long, when it was last in stock, but I certainly don't remember a Helmingus command set being around, available for much. I don't know. Maybe you have a better idea.
I picked one up from.
Okay.
I can't. Yes, that's right. I knew I've got him in my bloody case. I knew I recognized. Yes, there is one with a horn. But yeah, like I say, it's on the Helmingus. But they're gone. They're gone now.
Yeah, that's interesting. Well, there you go. So they kind of. Let's get to the comments on this. There's
a horn in the standard command set. God, was I really? I checked this.
I don't think there. I don't think there is. Is there? I have this image in my head. I have this image in my head that there are.
Oh my god, there is. There is.
Is there? Oh well. Yeah. Okay.
It's the other command I got. So here's where the confusion came in. I got mounted commanders, and there isn't a horn in mounted commanders.
Yeah,
there isn't anyone. I've been wrong twice now. There isn't anyone on a horse with a horn.
Yes,
you can't get a. There is no rider of Rohan with a horn. There are 2 dismount horn options.
Yes, that is probably true. Battle Streams in Middle Earth today. I think that's Damien. There's at least 2 Rohan models on foot with
thank
horn.
you, Damien.
Also, evening. What's all this about? Did something happen this week? It is true. We have chewed the fat.
Joke, unfortunately, you had to be in at the beginning of the stream. Yes. We're like 2.5 hours in now, and
that is true. That is true. And so I think we've tackled most of the topics we wanted to sort of talk about at the start. So I guess that we're kind of looking towards the future. I mean, we said at the start,
there's a future.
That there's a future. Is there a future for this game?
Yes.
I so in particular, I think this legacy miniature, because I'm genuinely confused about what will happen. Is it going to? Do you think? I think we've sort of said. Do you think that they will basically say this model that is now a legacy miniature in this legacy profile can be used in this legendary legion? That's it. Is that how we think it will happen?
This seems the most likely thing to do. If I was in their position, that's how I'd do it. They can't just let them loose. Be like, here you go, here's a miniature, drop it into whatever legion seems most appropriate to you. I think there might be this isn't available as an option in X and Y legion.
Yeah, it seems like that. So I guess that means, how common do you think this is going to be in the future? Are we likely to see, because there seems to be a sort of upswell of anger about this announcement that suggests people are very, very keen on using these profiles that are being legacied. Do you think that that's going to last?
I haven't seen it last in other games. This is the problem, isn't it? So a friend of mine has a lot of 40k orcs. A lot of them went to Legacy. Loads, particularly Forge World stuff, but not all Forge World stuff. So like he had, and it's really, really disappointing because there used to be loads of options. And this is what scares me. So for example, in 40k, you used to be able to have an orc war boss and you could put him on a different mounts. He could be on a war trike, which was what Forge World sold, and it's what my friend bought. And it was a gorgeous, beautiful model. Yeah. Really, really cool. And it was also nice to have that customization. You can give them a jump pack and things like this. And then they were like, and then they said, well, if we don't have a model for it, it's not going to be an option in your profile anymore. So they took away the jump packs and things like that because they didn't make models for that. And they also put a load of models into Legacy, or whatever it was called back then, Legends or whatever. And for a while, he was like, well, they've still got rules, so we'll play it. And this was an 8th edition. But I haven't seen them in years, and they've just gone. And I don't think they're even, they don't have Legends rules anymore. They were there for an edition, and now they're gone. And because the rules have changed fundamentally, that's it. And people, there's these common refrains from people, and all of them are really flawed. So the first thing people say online a lot is, well, just play the old edition, just play the old edition. So people
happen, does it?
It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen for two reasons. First, so that this kind of ties into the second thing they say. It's like, well, it only affects you if you go to tournaments, and only like 10% of people go to tournaments. I'm not a competitive player, but I go to tournaments. I go to tournaments, the social side. I love tournament weekends. Absolutely love them. I never win any of them, and I'm never going to win any of them. I'm not very good at the game. It doesn't matter. That is like the social heart of the hobby. And if you're going to be playing at tournaments, and that's basically all I play, I don't tend to play in other forums because I don't have much room at home. And if we're going to play some hobby, we tend to go to tournaments. We don't have other time to do it really. And that means you're going to be keeping up with the game. And the second thing is, it's fun to keep up with the game. It's fun to to keep up on the new miniatures that are being released, keep up on the new rules that are being released. If you say, I'm just going to lock myself into an old edition of the game, then that's it. You are there forever, and you're stuck there. And
you become a bit of a pariah. Like you have to have someone who who also vehemently agrees with you. Like you have to be, if you only play, John from down the road, and you and John are really, really angry about the lack of Gildor in the new edition, then you and John can carry on playing the game as it is. But like, I think that must be a niche thing for people to do. Like, most people go to the gaming club and they say, "Oh, do you want a game of Middle Earth this week?" And go, "Yeah, okay, let's play 700 points and this scenario, or which me and Tim do. We go to the club and we recreate the scenarios from the Quest of the Ring Bearer or whatever." And then the other people who play games go to tournaments. And I think both of those people you kind of need to be up to date with. Otherwise, you are locked in, not into just playing the same game over and over again.
Right.
Sorry?
It's joyful as well, right?
Like, yeah, exactly. You're part of a community then. Otherwise, you're
community moments when something new is released and something exciting is happening. People are talking about it. They're talking about it online. You talk about it in your WhatsApp groups and your Facebook groups. You go and buy it, and you're seeing other people paint up, and you're painting it up, and you get those kind of comparisons and things. And then you start to see them on the table. That is, to me, that is part of the joy of the game. And so, absolutely, if you want to go and play the old edition of the game, I'm not criticizing you for that at all. More power to you. Some people really enjoy playing it like that, and there are people, for example, who play old editions of 40k and fantasy, whatever, because they're like, well, this is great, it's rule set, so we're going to go and play that. But it's not a total. It's at least not a complete answer, and for some people, it's not an answer at all. And so, the thing that pisses me off about those posts is it's trying to shame you for being frustrated or upset over the losses and saying like, well, it suggests that you're being irrational about it because there's a rational solution, but actually none of those solutions are as rational as they would paint them.
Yeah, I mean, I know there are obviously groups of people who play Old Hammer, I think, still from the and I think that must still be popular. But I guess that game was killed. I mean, I know old worlds come back, but I think if you want to be part of a community playing this game, you kind of have to buy into the fact, literally, that Games Workshop's kind of in charge. And if you don't want to be part of this community, then don't buy the models, don't buy the rules and all that sort of stuff. Maybe you're lucky and you've got someone who lives near you who is similarly minded and will continue to play missions in this current edition. But I think eventually most people will move over. And that inevitably means these legacy models will probably start to lose their appeal pretty quickly. Like I'd say within a year. Maybe next year they'll be allowed in the Great British Hobbit League in some way, shape or form. Maybe they won't. I think they probably will, certainly for a while. But then after a while, I don't know. Ultimately, the people playing this game love it because or started enjoying it because of the films and the books and then the game itself. So as long as the game itself stays pretty good and the models that are coming out are good, then I think people will carry on playing what Games Workshop is offering. But that doesn't mean it's not sad if you're losing your canned army, because I'm pretty pissed about that. It's really sad. I do like the chariots a lot. So, but yeah, that's interesting that we're on kind of the same page there. And I guess the hopeful thing of this, though, and I sort of vaguely touched on this earlier, was that there's with all of this stuff being culled, and it is substantial. If that post that I saw earlier is correct, and it's 17.5% of the range, which sounds like a lot, but I think they said it was something like 70 something models, which does sounds about right. If that's true, that means there's place for 70 new models to come into the fray. And if those new models are as good as the ones that we've seen, like the new Dunland heroes look really cool, the new Rohan models look amazing. If that's the case, maybe we're going to continue seeing really great stuff in the next couple of years. And the stuff that's been deleted, like the Dwarves, Moria, whatever, maybe those things are the things that they'll focus on in the future, rather than increasingly obscure things like the Men of Kharndum or whatever it is that they like, because they're getting to the stage where actually it is pretty niche what we're doing. But it'd be nice for them to go, let's go back to Moria and do more whatever, it's more goblins or dwarves or whatever. But it opens up a new realm of fresh eyes with fresh kind of stories to tell. So maybe that's a positive. And rather than having to use these old resin sculpts that are deteriorating fast and have wonky spears or whatever it is, maybe we'll get some really cool stuff in the coming years. So, as well as the War of the Rohirrim thing.
That is a very hopeful message.
I think it is a hopeful message, and I think maybe that's where to leave it. Unless you have loads more you want to talk about. I think we talked about Quick Beam and Birch Seed, and I think that makes sense. I think we took it all, right? We talked it all. We've covered every single point. We have basically finished the conversation.
Time, so
yeah, that's true.
And that's an achievement in and of itself.
So I guess the message from here on out is there's no point in anybody commenting or posting about it at all, because we've done it all.
Yeah,
we've done everything. So
just if you see anyone say anything about the Purge, just post the link to this video.
Yes, I'll just say, well, we already talked about everything, so just go here. Yeah. If people have any more comments or any kind of final thoughts, do let us know. I know there's a lot of people talking about how you were wrong about the horns, and I was complicit in that, so I apologize. And Dave feels sorry for people who don't know how GW work and think these models are going to stay in Legacy forever. They'll be gone from GW in a year or two. Yeah, I think that is true. But as we've said, I think there's hope. There's still hope.
But before that's an interesting. Stay. Don't turn off yet. If you keep doing comments, I've got little experiments. You keep going.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. I'll if you keep thinking about that. Philip Demas said the only Mahud model that stayed is the War Leader. I imagine he's one of the new Legion's factions. Yeah, well, I mean, we've got like the what's it called? The Grand Army of the South. He is a Mummock War Leader. He rides the Mummock. We see him in the movie. I'm not surprised that he's staying, but he's just probably going to be a Harad model, I would have thought. Like maybe just not for Harad, which makes sense. People are saying I look like the guy from Ace Ventura. Do you mean Ace Ventura? The love. Michael says more films to come to have the potential to keep the momentum going too. Yeah, I think that's true. I was sad to see Legacy move in certain models in particular, but I'm hopeful for the new edition and far and for more wonderfully sculpted models. I think that's true. What else? I've missed some others. We talk about horns. It's sad to lose some characters in the books like Gildor. Alan Tony has arrived late for the show, but my God, Alan, if you watch this on repeat, you'll know we go hard into the Gildor love. So yeah, do watch back if you've only just joined. But thanks for stopping by and enjoying yourself. Tommy 2 says, "Hey guys, Harry, I'm taking Ents for the first time on my first event in 2 weeks." Oh, well, thanks. That's cool. I'm assuming you're telling me this because you were inspired by Entmoot, and I hope you were. But thank you very much, Tommy, for getting in touch. I am also taking Ents to the last event of this edition. I'm going to take Quick Beam, none of this Birch Seed nonsense. I'm going to take Quick Beam, Beachbone, what's his face, Treebeard, and an Ent to the Great British Hobbit League finale, and I can't wait. It's going to be really good. We're going to watch War of the Rohirrim with a big gang of folks. I think it's looking for about 15 people. 15 people. And going to be going to, like Lord of the Ringsy types, and that's just the people who've commented yes. I think there'll probably be more as we get closer and closer who are up for going to see War of the Rohirrim together, which would be good. Hence the last event, very clever. Master Ball UK said, I meant the Yurikai Shaman. Ace Ventura fights him in the second film. Yes, I know exactly who you mean now. Yes, the guy who's no, wait, hold on, Ace Ventura. Wait, I don't know who. I was thinking the guy who pulls the heart out of the guy's. That's not it. That's not Ace Ventura. that's what's his face. Indiana Jones. Anyway, but yeah, Harry, you can be Jim Carrey if you want. Lol, brilliant. Battle Streams in the Middle Earth says everyone's upset and angry about it now, and they have every right to be. But in a year's time, it'll be just another crap thing that GW did. Very few will quit the game over it. That would be self-defeating. It's like when I leave my contact lens case in the sink. It makes Emma angry every time, but as long as I keep offering all the other good stuff, she'll keep playing the Damien game. Wise words indeed. Kalima. Yes, that's the guy. Thanks, Grimdorp Future. That's exactly who I was thinking. And now I've pictured him. I don't think he looks at all like the guy that I was talking about. I've filled enough. Alex, have you worked out what you were going to say? Or have you not?
No, I have. I know what I want to say, but I'm trying to find
evidence.
The rules for. I'm trying to find the list of units that are currently in Legends for 40k, and they appear to have disappeared from the app. Someone must be able to help me out here. I must be missing something. But they appear to have disappeared from the app, and I also can't. They used to have a PDF of the rules.
Maybe they have actually deleted them now.
Well, this is what I would find that strange if they were just gone wholesale, because there's someone that went to Legends really recently. There's a page for all their rules downloads. I'm going to check there because that would give you a hint as to how long they maintain.
Oh, I see.
So here we go.
Well, there was something released a year ago. There's a rules document for 40k, which includes, I don't know, Space Marines. Let's have a look at this. Oh, this feels like we're getting really niche here. It's got a Land Raider Helios in it. Is that new? It's got a Mortis Dreadnought.
I don't
know any of this shite. I don't know why I'm even thinking about it.
But the interesting is, I swear, again, someone would correct me if I'm wrong, but I swear on the 40k app, Army Builder app, it used to have a section. If you clicked on a faction, it would say what stuff was in Legends, and that just appears to have gone.
Oh, okay. Well, I think Dave's point was that that people are very hopeful that stuff will stay in Legacies forever. I don't know whether people do think that. I think people are probably saying it's okay, you can still use them forever because we'll get a PDF and then we can use that PDF for as long as we like, which may well be true in some ways, but I'm not 100% sure that that's. I don't know. I don't know. They will be gone. They in a sense, you say they'll be gone from GW in a year or two. They will be gone. Well, some of them are gone now. You can't buy the miniature. They might release some rules for it once, and that'll be it. But I think, I think I'd be very surprised to see them update 79 models again when they can't make any money off them. So Tom Rogue Dice says they're still in the app, but only when you build a list. So maybe that's the reason. Battlestreams Merz say the way that GW rip your hearts out sometimes is a bit like that guy in the Temple of Doom. And Simon says if you look at the number of profiles added to the game since 2018, it's about the same as the number they're removing now. So the game is about the same size again as it was in 2018. That's interesting, and that's before 2018 was before the new edition.
They've released 70 stuff in the 70 units in the past edition.
Yeah, maybe they have. I don't know. They haven't. I mean, a lot of those probably Hobbit heroes, to be fair. But still, anyway, right. I think we should call it a night because I can faintly hear the cry of a 4-week-old downstairs and the tears of a wife who has to deal with him and wake up in the middle of the night before I go.
You want to get back to your wife and child? That's ridiculous.
It's so very selfish.
Lack of commitment.
Either way, indeed. Either way, thanks for. I mean, we've had consistently about 70 people watching this evening, which is insane. So thank you so much everyone for watching, and for all the people who super chatted. There were a couple of people, one of whom was by accident, but still I'll take it. Thank you so much. Either way, thanks everyone for watching. We will probably do another live stream at some point, and with another exciting host as well as Alex and myself. And in the meantime, thanks, and we will see you soon, I guess. Alex, have you got any videos on the agenda that are going to be released any soon that you want to plug?
I've got one coming out, but soon. But it's not Middle Earth, so I'm going to keep my mouth shut.
Okay, fair enough. Well, if it's anything, if it's anything 40k, like we'll just shout shill at you after your 160,000 strong video.
My next big trip in January, I'm going away for 2 weeks, and I'm taking the new box set with me, and I'll be doing a big Middle Earth video. So there you go.
Excellent. Oh well, can't wait. Thanks very much. Oh yeah, a shout out to Bisa. Battle Streams in Middle Earth. They're on tomorrow, which will be Halloween stream, so it'll be spooky. More spooky than this one anyway, but not as scary as the news that your models are going to be Legacy. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. And I'm sure Alex will too.